Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. Hope you're well. Happy Lawn Maintenance Tuesday. Online, ESPNTallahassee.com, where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you do remember this, you're in luck. All 3 hours posted every day, both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. That's a good thing, so go back, get caught up at your leisure, and do so with limited commercial interruption. Thanks to our great sponsor, Carlton Dean. Go to carltondean.com. Learn about making money commercial real estate. You can email the show if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. A lot of emails begin with, when are we going to fire Martin? A record-setting number of emails begin that way. On Twitter, it's at @JCameronShow. Thanks for the follow. And WTSM app. Also good for all your mobile devices. Watch, or listen, I should say, that way you can watch via YouTube. Go to YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee feed, and you can watch us do the show. Me and Tom, that is. And thanks for doing that. Appreciate you. Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm good. We have a national champion. Once again, basically, if they're crowning national champions, they're just crowning another ACC team.
It's nice to be able to look at you and talk to you. That delay stuff is for the birds.
It's awkward, isn't it? Did you get your ACC shirt? Did you get that out today and wear that?
I did, sure.
Well, I mean, another championship.
It was actually a turtleneck. I took it off for the YouTube feed because I've got to be a closet ACC guy while you're more out in the open.
I'm right out in the open. I don mine on a daily basis usually. Didn't today, but that's because I figured, I gave the necessary love to the ACC last night after the game. In all seriousness, that was a tough one, right? Because, it seems the game really couldn't get going. It was sloppy. It featured a gazillion calls. I'm sure you've heard the statistic at some point today about there was a foul called every 58 seconds. There were 4 fouls called in the first, minute and a half of the second half. 9 fouls by the first TV timeout. I mean, it was sweet Jesus.
I thought they were digging themselves into a pretty big hole, the officials. Once they got the bigs for Gonzaga into trouble, I was wondering how they were going to treat the game. And that's a thought process that should never happen. It's kind of like when you were talking about how you didn't like that I never felt safe about the KB touchdown in the national title game.
Yes, because it's ruined by what we've done with replay.
Yeah,
Everything has to be reviewed.
The call on the field, number one, for me was huge. That was part of the thought process. And number 2 was, I just want to see us snap the extra point because that means everything's going to be fine.
You can't review it. Yeah,
exactly. And what I thought last night is something that we shouldn't have to think about. But there were so many whistles before the first media timeout that I thought, you're putting the Bulldogs bigs in trouble. Man, you can't not do that to North Carolina. I know how college officiating works, so this is going to turn into at least a whistle fest for the first 10 minutes. I didn't think it would for the entire game, the entire second half.
This has been a long-standing problem with basketball specifically. We all complain about officiating all the time, and I say we all. I mean, you guys do. I don't. But fans have talked about officiating, basically their whole lives. We know that, all of our lives, right? I mean, you watch games, and somehow afterwards, in the discussion of what the game was or was not, officiating always comes up. And I find that just, usually tiresome because everybody feels like they're getting jobbed. There are occasions when we then do have to get into it because there is an egregious call made or something so obviously wrong as to not be ignored, especially if it has an impact. But I thought this just had a general impact in the watchability of the game, not necessarily in a way that favored any one team. There were calls against both teams that at various points I thought, well, that's terrible. But I thought that it went both ways. Basketball's got a problem, and this has been a problem in the sport for a very, very long time. College basketball officiating is garbage, and it has been for a very long time. And I find it, at times, varying points of its existence in my lifetime, unwatchable. And that's frustrating because I love the sport. I love the game. I love to play the game. I love to watch the game. I want my kids to like the game. And I want to, as a sports talk radio host and fan of sports in general, be able to sit back, watch a game, and not be constantly reminded that those guys are on the floor too.
But there's
meaning the officials.
there's a truth in being a fan of any sport to know that there's an equalizing call coming. Like, that's a natural thing that occurs not just in football or especially in basketball. But if you know that the whistle's blown and it's gone one way for 3 or 4 consecutive calls. In hockey, does a team get a 5-on-3? And especially in the playoffs, does a team get a 5-on-3? And are they on the road by chance? Because if they are, okay, well, the next 2 or 3 calls are going to go for the home team. That's just the way it is. You know it's going to happen. If there are 3 or 4 borderline calls, judgment-type calls, to go one team's way in college football,
Right.
you know, that mysterious hold is coming to balance things out. All of a sudden, it's 2nd and 10 after a gain of 8. It just seems to be the way it works with officiating. The problem with last night was, okay, the first half I didn't think was all that bad from an officiating standpoint. The kids were just nervous. It wasn't the greatest quality of basketball, but it had enough flow to it. It was close at halftime, and I thought there were moments where Gonzaga obviously were up 24-17, had a couple of threes to go up 10, and they missed them, or I think it was 21-14. At any rate, there were big shots that were missed. North Carolina comes back, answers the bell.
A lot of missing, my friend.
Yes, well, tons of missing down low. Looked like us at Cameron Indoor, the one Polish kid did. You know, so that to me was more about kids being timid and being nervous in the moment than it was about bad officiating. But then in the second half, you have stoppages for replays, you have stoppages for fouls, then you have the TV timeouts that don't want to, you know, partner up with some of these long review processes for whatever reason, I don't know. And so it just feels like it's all these little vacuum moments in a game rather than a flow of a real basketball game the way we had in the first half. And then you're looking at the clock, like the real-time clock, and you're thinking, it's 11:15. And there are still 6 minutes to go in this game.
I don't know why they start that game when they do anyhow.
That's a joke.
Yeah. Listen, it also created a situation, I think, to some degree. How much you can attribute it to the officials, I don't know. Didn't play college basketball. I don't know what that feels like to a shooter. But, you know, you see Gonzaga shot 33%, and you see North Carolina wasn't much better at 35%, nearly 36%. And you wonder, is that because there was no flow in this game whatsoever with all the stop-starts? And you've got really athletic teams on the floor there. I think the approach should have been to let them play. It's a national champ. You know, I always side that way anyhow. I'm not talking about letting people beat people up. That Louisville team a few years ago that won the national championship was ridiculous. They fouled almost every single time down the floor defensively. And yet they won because the rules were different then, and they were allowed to play that way. I hate that the game can get bogged down that way, too, when you just allow people to mug people. So they went away from that. They decided to change the way the game is called, and basically they don't want you to impede anybody's ability to move, period. And the idea is that it would create more baskets and allow for the athleticism to shine. There would be a better flow, a faster-paced game. And these wonderful athletes, which basketball players are a joy to watch, I mean, they're amazing athletes, would be on display. But instead, you know, and I heard Patino talk about this morning, but instead, you know, what you got is a whistle fest, and it happened a lot this year. And so there are adjustments still going on. Well, that's fine, but it's just not good for the aesthetics. I mean, it's just not fun to watch. I assume eventually we'll get a game where the guys have a pretty good handle on what's going to be called and what's not. I'm of the opinion that if you want to establish things early in a year and teach teams what's now going to be called or players what's now going to be called a foul, that's fine. When we get to this point and you've got really athletic, really talented, really efficient basketball teams on the floor, can we let them play some basketball?
Well,
What are we doing here?
The two teams wanted to run last night, and they were doing that. They
Yeah.
just weren't making shots. I mean, Jackson missed every single three he took, and then the big kid for Gonzaga missed every bunny that he took,
Yeah.
even though he put himself in position. He just wouldn't make them. So, you know, in the first half, even though there are misses, there's still a flow up and down. And then you're in the double bonus by what? The 10-minute mark in the second half? The game wasn't called consistently. And then there were moments, too, where college officiating is going to make horrible, horrible mistakes throughout a game. It's just going to happen. One or two, especially, where you go back and you go, oh, my God, that's just the way it is. We know it. We've seen it.
Well, too many calls are assumed. I think that's the biggest thing, but the actions are assumed.
But the problem is, then there are a couple of missed calls because I think the officials knew. They could feel it was whistle fest. There was a missed call where Collins should have been called for his fifth. And then on the other side, they have a kid travel, Gonzaga does, in the paint. They don't call that. But then they want to give Collins his fifth on some foul, this phantom call completely away from the key. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there.
No.
And then you have the missed call on the baseline. at the end of the game with possession.
They say that's not reviewable.
Well, good Lord.
Well,
Isn't everything reviewable?
Well, it seems that way, right? They would review things that were unnecessary to review.
Yes, they reviewed the shot clock violation with 6 minutes to go.
Which is
6 minutes left in the game.
Well, and it's crazy because it's so obvious that it's not. So I don't understand what they choose to review, what they don't. If that's not reviewable, if the play along the baseline is not reviewable with 53 seconds left or whatever that is, then why have replay? I mean, what the hell's the point of replay? Why would you have it if that's not reviewable? It's plain as day. Listen, I wasn't even actually rooting for either team. I don't care. This is one of those games I really didn't care all that much who won. I don't, Gonzaga doesn't do anything for me. And, well, because we're in this conference, I kind of loathe North Carolina. But what I'm saying is that not being reviewed didn't anger me because I had a dog in the fight or money on the game or anything like that. It's just that if you can't review that, what's the point of having reviews?
Sure, and then they swallow the whistles to a degree in the last couple minutes of the game. So it's like, really, at this point, because to me, we have the argument, we have fun with it. The Michael Snare shove on the kid at Georgia Tech is always the lightning rod moment. But to me, if it's a foul in the first half, then it's got to be a foul in the last couple of minutes. But this was so woefully inconsistent, and then it just went crazy in the second half. I don't want it to ever get to a point where a TV executive is telling an official what to do in the middle of a game, because that reeks, of something a little bit more nefarious, and that's a slippery slope. But couldn't somebody have gotten in the ear of these guys? Couldn't a head official at the timeline, gotten up, the possession guy, whoever, and say, gentlemen, what are you doing? You are killing the moment for everyone in this building. See how many people are here? They don't care about you.
Mm-hmm.
Stop it. But it never happened.
One thing I did think about, and North Carolina certainly hopes that this is not what other people think about. When you watch Roy Williams win a national championship, his third, and you see Carolina celebrate, you think that, it's kind of crazy, given what happened at Florida State University and the NCAA, where you had a rogue tutor in an online music class.
But did the class exist?
It did. But not at North Carolina. No, North Carolina ran a fake academic department for over 20 years and established a class solely for the benefit of its athletes. And they've yet to be punished by the NCAA. This is not an opinion. This happened. You have basically filings, notices, exchanges of delays, basically. And, it's hard to understand how that's happened. You can basically make an argument against North Carolina. You can make a valid argument if you think this sort of punishment is fair. You can make an argument against North Carolina that basically that they should have been given the death penalty. I mean, you were literally at a program of higher learning. You literally ran a fake class that directly benefited your athletes, and they've yet to be punished. And when you see Carolina have success, that's all I think about.
Think of the NCAA as a marching band, celebrating student athletes in everything they do. Just know we're always there for student athletes.
So, I mean, you know how hard the NCAA came down on Florida State. You've watched them, and that was self-reported, I might add, which you should never do, because that's what happens.
There's no leniency.
There's no leniency. Don't raise your hand and tell them that you're cheating. Just go ahead and do the cheating. And if you're North Carolina, hell, do the cheating for decades. Win national championships. Don't worry about it. It's all good. I mean, you can make a really good argument. I mean, think about how quickly the NCAA responded to problems at Syracuse with Boeheim's program. Think about how quickly the NCAA responded to Louisville, problems at Louisville. What in the hell is taking so long in the North Carolina case?
At least with the Miami case, the NCAA was engaging in corrupt behavior outside of what it can and cannot do, and that's why there was a delay in the Miami case. But this one, there's been no reports of anything like that.
No, so, it's bizarre. I mean, they had a fake academic department for over 20 years establishing a class for athletes for the sole benefit of their athletes, basketball, football, baseball. And there's been nothing done, nothing. And yet Florida State, any school, I'm using Florida State because it was in our backyard, but honestly, I just gave you Syracuse, Louisville. There's been countless others. Well, there's countless others.
Sure.
They infraction committed, we'll investigate it, notice of allegations, boom. We're done here.
Yeah. Penn State.
I mean, what are,
They went moralist with Penn State, which I can understand the theory behind that, but they did so quickly. Quite quickly.
It's bizarre. Anyhow, now, of course, there are plenty of good kids at North Carolina, good kids on that basketball team, and Roy's a good coach. It's hard to win national championships. If you want proof of that, he's been there. He's been in that game 9 times. And he's won just now his third, which is actually quite the winning percentage.
And they kind of laid an egg last night. It's just that Gonzaga did too.
You need guys to be able to shoot. Yeah, you brought up Jackson, ACC Player of the Year, 0 for 9.
See,
0 for 9.
Yeah, that's what he does though. I've never been a big Jackson guy. I can understand that he can rack it up, and he's like Sean Marion to me in that it doesn't look pretty, but it works at times. And then when it doesn't, you hate him as a ball player. You go, well, your fundamentals are just complete crap. So screw you, man. But he did have the big and one down the stretch.
Yes, he did.
That was huge.
Huge. Duly noted that there are no excuses to be made for Florida State baseball. I thought going into the weekend, and obviously we celebrated opening day at the Corner Pocket last night and on into the night with the national championship game. And thanks for everybody who came out, thanks to the Corner Pocket. We had a blast. We do that annually, always fun on opening day. Hopefully next year, if you didn't get to come out this year, you'll join us. I know the weather, we had slightly inclement weather.
Still got gremlins in our systems here after that.
Yeah. But the point is, we didn't get a chance to talk yesterday about the weekend sweep at the hands of North Carolina and where this program's at with the 11 losses. And here they sit kind of at a crossroads. And it's a difficult topic because you're talking about a guy – a lot of people like to compare the situation with Martin, a living legend, to the Bowden situation. I don't think the two are similar, but I do think that it's an interesting dialogue that has to take place because things aren't getting better, and I don't think they're about to get much better either. And we'll talk about it next. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Blountstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
Over $700 in savings. Nobody beats our prices. Guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details. Valid through April 12th.
If there's one thing the pros at Advance Auto know, it's parts.
Advance Auto Parts and Batteries, this is Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey. I'm on your website, and it says I can buy online and then pick up in store.
Yes.
And how long does that usually take?
30 minutes or less.
I need a battery for my 2013 Ford Escape.
Our Autocraft Gold, it's got a 3-year warranty.
Man, you really know your stuff. I'm 33. Am I too young for a cardigan?
Too young for a cardigan.
Advance Auto Parts. We know everything about auto parts. Order online at advanceautoparts.com and pick up your order in store in just 30 minutes.
Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket as much as a game-winning kick.
He's got a chance. It's good from 55.
Lunchtime never tasted so good. Try the Corner Pocket's weekday lunch special, featuring a new dish each day, plus a tea, fountain drink, or domestic draft for only $7.99. And Tuesday is Trivia Night. The questions start at 7 p.m. as you enjoy $3.25 domestic Big Daddies, $6.75 domestic pitchers, and a selection of $5 apps. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Appalachie Parkway next to Earth Fair.
Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-261-7500 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-261-7500. That's 800-261-7500.
The latest thing in tile is brick, as in the brick look porcelain tile that you can get right now at the Home Depot. Whether you're framing a fireplace or covering a wall, brick look tile is an easy, inexpensive way to add character to your home. We have dozens of styles to choose from and great ideas on how to use them, for looks that range from stately to cozy to just plain cool. Get the look of brick for the price of tile, as little as $4.99 a square foot, only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
It's the Hyundai Spring Cleaning Sales Event. The best way to buy is the Werner way. We monitor our competition's website, TV, and radio ads to make sure you get the best price. We shop North Florida and South Georgia so you don't have to. Drive a great-looking 2017 Hyundai Elantra for $169 per month for 36 months with $19.99 due at lease signing. You get Hyundai Assurance with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Why shop anywhere else? WernerHyundai.com. Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 5th.
There's a new 7-year tractor warranty in town. Now, only Mahindra tractors have the industry's best 7-year limited powertrain warranty. That's right, not 5 years, not 6, but a full 7 years. Only on the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Only at TNT Supercenter. Go see Clint and the friendly staff to get your next Mahindra tractor. TNTSupercenter.com.
Warranty on select models. See Mahindra warranty policy for details.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
When it comes to live gaming excitement, Creek Entertainment Gretna is your hometown headquarters. With live poker and simulcast race betting, you've got more winning opportunities right here close to home. Plus, we now offer 3-card poker and Pai Gow in our card room. Satisfy big appetites at Stables, featuring hot and cold sandwiches, salads, and weekend specials. There's always something exciting going on at Creek Entertainment Gretna. I-10 exit 174, Gretna, Florida.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. Thanks for listening. There's a stale feeling, isn't there, regarding Florida State sports right now? Isn't that odd? Just really stale.
I don't disagree with you.
No, you can feel it. I'm talking about observing a feeling. Just a sort of a... Even spring football. There's just a malaise. There's sort of... I can't... I mean, you can... posit that it's this or it's that, but I don't know that we can really put our finger specifically on what it is.
No, I was talking with my dad today. We were just catching up, and we usually do that on Monday, and he said, so how are things going at work? And I'm talking about, the YouTube project and everything that we're doing. He goes, but you know what? There's something missing. Because typically this time
You're
of year...
You're unhappy working here, Tom?
No, of course not. Who would ever suggest anything like that? No, talking about, the spring game or at least FSU baseball or whatever. I mean, even looking forward to the draft, there's something going on with FSU sports that's, of significance and people are excited about at this point in the year. And it's funny you say that because we didn't talk about that today. But that's what I mentioned to my dad. I was like, it's just Noles fans aren't really happy right now, but they're not super angry either. They're just kind of resigned in the moment.
Well, there's a couple things I think that's at the root of that. We're in a weird situation. Let's say you're a Leonard Hamilton detractor. Say you want to move on from Leonard Hamilton. Well, this wouldn't be the year to make that argument. You know, you've probably voiced that concern. Oh, believe me, I'm sure you did. Voiced that concern numerous times prior to this season, but now wouldn't be the time that you would say it with a straight face. They just won the second most games in the history of the program. Made the tournament, won a tournament game. I mean, you know, I would have liked not to have gotten bounced by 25-plus points in the second round, but, you know, look around. The entirety of the ACC lost in the second round. The only one that didn't is your national champion, North Carolina, which, once again, the ACC just dominated sports. But anyhow, the point is, well, I'm required to do that, Tom. You understand. I get kickbacks.
Yes, you get letters from Swaffy.
That's right, and I cherish those letters. Anyhow, what I will tell you is that so you're kind of in a bind there. You're a little bit in limbo with the Hamilton thing. So you'd go, well, all right, he won't make the tournament next year, then we can fire his ass. I mean, that's kind of what the person that would like to see him gone is thinking.
You may be right.
Actually, I do think I'm right there. I don't think they're not going to be very good next year.
Yeah, 6-7 wins in the ACC. I was thinking about that.
I was thinking about it last night too. Our minds are all right on the same page.
They are.
I was watching that game and I said to myself, "Man, you know, we're probably going to suck next year."
That's what I've been worried about for a while.
I started thinking about it more and more, and then I got depressed. Then I said, "Oh, well, okay, let's move along." And in baseball, here's the deal. Even if you're one of those guys that says, you know, Martin will never win a national championship, fine. He hasn't. He's won everything there is to win, but he has not won a national championship. So that is the final piece to the puzzle. And even if you're one of those guys that has thought maybe we should have moved on long ago, fine, I'll even entertain that debate. One thing that those guys often recognize is his gaudy winning percentage, the year in and year out consistency of a baseball program that always wins 40-plus games, goes to a super regional, hosts a regional, etc. And there's no getting around that. Those are facts. When you win that many games and your winning percentage is that great, there's no way to come to the table with the talk of firing somebody. So you just don't. You can't. But it can leave you somewhat, I think, feeling helpless because you can say with great certainty that the university is not going to make a change, and you believe they should be making a change. But you also know that the way he wins games doesn't warrant a change. You can't, with a straight face, say, I want the guy that goes, 46-10 fired. You can't do it. So, or you can, but you can't be taken seriously at that point. Well, you may get your season here. Like what you would have needed in the past is some sort of thing that you see every other baseball program do, which is somehow inexplicably miss the postseason. Everybody makes the postseason. And we've looked around. We've seen with Florida. We've seen with other schools who are really good have these years that come out of nowhere where they just are awful. They're 500 or below 500. You've seen it. I mean, it's happened at places like Texas, and it's you know, you've seen disastrous seasons at places like LSU, and Miami's currently involved in one. And this isn't the first one of those recently. I mean, they're stuck in a bad situation, and their fans feel that way too. But Florida State is doing something it hasn't done before under Martin, which is losing a lot, especially if they play a team that's any good. Basically, if the team is good, we lose to them. When you look at how the record has been amassed up to this point this year, we beat bad teams. Good on you. We lose to good teams. Always. Always. You don't even slip up and accidentally win a game against a good team. No, we always lose.
Found some spectacular ways to do it.
Well, okay, so now that brings me to the next point. If you already wanted Martin gone, but couldn't make the argument, the compelling argument, because he won a lot of games and the teams played the right way, this would be your season to do backflips because they don't play the right way. They're terrible. They lose to anybody who's any good, and they can't pick up the baseball. And there's just no getting around it. I kept thinking, okay, well, they'll get it together because they always do, and they might still. I still think, I know this sounds, and it might make you incredulous at home, I still think they've got a chance to be good. But I also know that I can't come in here after watching what I just saw. I sat out there and baked in the bleachers for 2 of those games, well, the Sunday game especially, over the weekend against North Carolina.
It's the sacrifice.
I'm telling you, it felt like a sacrifice on Sunday watching them kick the ball over the yard.
Well, yeah, it's
and
11
blow
errors.
a 6-2 lead.
11 errors within 36 hours.
And asinine stuff. I mean, things that little leaguers don't do. It's not what we're accustomed to seeing. You can lose or you can come up short and you can say, hey, look, I think maybe a fresh pair of eyes is what's needed around here. That's fine. I'll entertain the idea of it. But this is ridiculous. Like watching them play the game that poorly is very, very difficult. I mean, just to watch. It's not fun. It's garbage. And on top of it, they're losing. So, is that going to change? I'd like to think it would, because on paper, again, when you look at certain players, okay, so Taylor Walls, right? That kid comes in to the season, preseason All-American, hit 350 or whatever the hell he hit a year ago.
One of the core players and core reasons that we were consensus, top 5, top 7 in the country across the 74 different polling services.
Right. Well, all of a sudden he can't hit, and now he's a discipline problem. He's got some leg kick. They tell him to lose the leg kick. He doesn't want to hear it. And then we've got, acrimony. And then he's loafing, and you have that situation
and
like
there
you
are
had.
F-bombs to be had, and that's that.
I mean, it is crazy. In the weeks that FSU has played Florida this year, it has a record of 1-8. In all other games, they're 17-3. One loss, as they say. Corey Clark said this, I think, yesterday. And he came up last night. We were talking about this baseball team. It's rare that I can state that I know that a team or a game or a situation has created a level of doubt that you can physically, visibly see. It's visceral. You can look at it and say they don't believe they're going to win this. They don't believe they're going to make the plays. But I think you can with this team. I think they've gotten completely domed up. And a lot of these guys, for example, if you look at, almost at bat for at bat, as you go down this lineup, you'll see guys who can hit. And you'll see them struggle. And you'll see, now some of the guys are starting to come around. But you can look and see that they're kind of too far out in front, or they're just desperately wanting to make something happen instead of just having a classic approach, solid at bat.
Well, there are a few things that can really turn, a losing streak into a losing season. And we see this. It's easier to see, I think, in pro baseball, because the drop-off of a guy in pro baseball when he's playing at a professional level, even if it's average, to underperforming, is so drastic that it sticks out like a sore thumb. And there are a couple of things that can really short-circuit a season for any given team. One's a bad bullpen, because the weight of having a bad bullpen that can't even pitch for you when you have a lead. And by that, I mean they have Drew Carlton, who couldn't get it done the other night on Saturday, but, they kicked the baseball around. He didn't give up an earned run. But you have Carlton, and then who? You know what I mean? So even if you have a lead into the 6th, it's 2 outs in the 6th, but your guy's done. I mean, there's a weight that comes with that on a team. You could see the look in their eyes. You can see the look in a dugout when something like that happens. And if you can't pick up the ball,
that's the bigger one.
Then the pitchers lose faith, and you could see the weight on a pitcher's face when an error comes, because now they know that 3 are coming, not just 1.
You know what I mean? Getting into their head. They're domed up a little bit.
Exactly,
no doubt.
and it feeds on itself.
They also haven't had their projected lineup on the field together at all. I mean, nobody can stay healthy. This guy's out, this guy comes back. This guy comes back, that guy goes out. I mean, they've got problems with key players. I question a little bit. We were all so eager to see Mendoza enter into this lineup, and he did over the weekend. You want to take a kid that hasn't had an at-bat in college baseball and return him against that pitching staff, have him go against that guy in particular on Friday night? I question that decision. I do. Your first AB this year is going to be against a guy who throws 100. Good luck with that.
Yeah, maybe you start him on Saturday. But he can't sit out the weekend. You can't be afraid. Because, listen, North Carolina's got a great staff, but we have a lot of top-end staffs that we're going to be facing down the stretch here. It's not like North Carolina is this one weekend where it's, okay, the rest of the month's going to be cake against the ACC that we're playing.
You've got, well, and also your midweek games are tough. You got Florida Gulf Coast and Florida.
It was good.
Yeah. And they already beat us, yeah. There's a lot going wrong with this team right now in a way that you haven't seen before. You've seen them have individual struggles. You've seen a team maybe underachieve or be snake bit or have problems scoring, but they could pitch, or they could pitch, or they couldn't pitch, but they could score, or whatever it would be. They've found a lot of really creative ways to lose games and to look bad in almost every facet of the game. But I will say this, statistically speaking, Tom, when you look at this team, they actually have the pitching for the postseason. Because Zersow's not terrible, by the way. You said who's next after Carlton. And if you look at it, Carp can pitch. So when you get to the postseason, how many pitchers are you going to need? Because obviously the Tuesday starter becomes the long reliever.
Well, in theory, you're using Carlton. You never think you're going to be in a loser's bracket. And the Super Regional is a true weekend series.
Right.
So, yes, you're going to use Carlton twice in a weekend.
But think about
it's
it.
about game 2. Who do you use?
Yeah, and Holton is really good. Sands is good. They've got pitching. They've actually got enough pitching.
Okay, yes. About 5-6 years ago, there was a period there, maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago, where they had finally purged enough talent. Every year, their lineup went from 6 deep to 5 deep to maybe 3 deep. And then they had a pitcher. And they had good closers, but they really didn't have the top-end talent. This team has way more top-end talent than a lot of those teams that fought and made their way to a Super Regional, one of which that made the College World Series. That's where, if you have hope, you look to stars. This team has them. There is no doubt. It's got 4 or 5 bona fide college baseball All-American type stars.
Well, and if Mendoza's the player that MLB scouts project him to be, if Taylor Walls can get his head out of his ass and figure out what the hell he's doing and start playing baseball the way we know he can play baseball. If you get Busby healthy, and, we go on and on, we look at these guys, they've got players. If this lineup lengthens, they become pretty powerful. But it seems like we're doing a lot of if, and we're now, 29 games in, he's 18-11, and they haven't beat anybody who's any good.
But you got 2 starters that you love, a closer that you trust, and then you got a guy in Cal, I should say, and you got Walls, and you like what the potential could be for the middle of the lineup if Busby is there and Mendoza is what they think he is.
Well, Neoporte's hitting, and J.C. Flowers has been a beautiful
Yes.
pick. He's a wonderful player. No, they actually, it's weird because, again, on paper, when you look at this team and you know those players, I'm talking to the people that go to the games and have seen a lot of these players, and you know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm just not looking at them statistically speaking. You know they can play. When you look at the lineup and you know now what Flowers is, and you see, obviously, you know what Neoporte is as a hitter, and you know what Busby is, and we go on and on. And obviously, Cal's going to start hitting, but you know he can. He just did it as a freshman. He was outstanding. So if he starts hitting, when you look at that, you go, why are they bad? They ought not be bad. This wasn't foolhardy to say, I think they're going to have a good team. That wasn't the local media that projected that. Baseball America, which traditionally hates Florida State, we used to laugh about that. Its lowest ranking was always in Baseball America. Every other site had Florida State higher. Baseball America was in love with this team, and they traditionally don't have much love for Florida State. This wasn't just like wild expectations out of nowhere. They've got players.
One difference, though, and I think you're kind of hinting at it. There's more noise in the system.
Well, there's a lot of noise in the system, and there's a problem in that clubhouse, and I don't know that. I'm not in that clubhouse, so I can't say this is the problem in that clubhouse. But I can watch the product and tell you there's a problem in that clubhouse. I don't know that this group loves each other.
That counts for a lot.
Well, and I don't know if, who knows? I mean, are they mad at the coach? Are they mad at the head coach, the assistant coaches? I don't know.
Each other?
But there
pitchers
seems,
mad at fielders. You could see that certainly with 11 errors.
There seems
Saturday,
to be. Well, you could understand it. Yeah, I don't know, but something's wrong. Something's wrong. And to watch this product, the testament to Mike Martin that I'll make is that I'm alarmed by what I'm seeing because we don't see that. That doesn't happen. Any argument that involves, well, he's not going to win a national championship or he can or whatever, that's a different debate. But as far as fundamental baseball, playing the game, you don't see that from Mike Martin coach clubs. You don't see what we're seeing now. And it's obviously people are pissed. This is the overall malaise we're talking about. There's this sense of we're stuck. There's nothing to be overly excited about. Same goes for spring football. I'll talk about that next. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Oh, God! Look at that! Is that guy...
He's dead. That dude's dead.
Man, that's crazy,
That's why you don't do that. I don't know about you. I'm not on a motorcycle. That's not my thing. That or I've seen these jet ski guys do flips over each other. This extreme sports stuff is brutal.
Dude, you know, I was in a motorcycle accident when I was 16, man. I cut my foot off.
Whoa. You cut your foot off? You got a club foot? Is that a wooden foot?
No,
Did you kick a 63-yard field goal?
I can still dance. The doctors put it back on, man. It was pretty quick, but I hit a mailbox.
You're not kidding.
No,
you cut your foot off on a mailbox.
On a mailbox.
Did you feel it?
No.
I knew it. I told everybody with severe injuries, you don't ever feel it. Like a shark bites a guy's leg off, he never feels it.
Didn't feel it at all.
Seriously, you cut your foot off?
Yeah, I seriously cut my foot off.
Which foot?
My right foot.
Like halfway down? All the way
halfway.
Up, at the ankle?
At halfway. Look.
Holy. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
It's Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot. And right now, you can save up to 35% on appliances, like the Whirlpool stainless steel French door refrigerator. With its AccuChill temperature management system and full-width pantry, it keeps food at the correct temperature. And during Spring Black Friday, it's a special buy at just $998. Over $700 in savings. Nobody beats our prices. Guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details. Valid through April 12th.
If there's one thing the pros at Advance Auto know, it's parts.
Advance Auto Parts and Batteries, this is Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey. I'm on your website, and it says I can buy online and then pick up in store.
Yes.
And how long does that usually take?
30 minutes or less.
I need a battery for my 2013 Ford Escape.
Our Autocraft Gold, it's got a 3-year warranty.
Man, you really know your stuff. I'm 33. Am I too young for a cardigan?
Too young for a cardigan.
Advance Auto Parts. We know everything about auto parts. Order online at advanceautoparts.com and pick up your order in store in just 30 minutes.
Have you ever noticed when you report an accident or a claim to an insurance company, they are very eager to get you to one of their approved body shops. They say that they guarantee the shop's work, but what they're really saying is the shop works for them, not the customer. So choose a shop that is working for and looking out for you, someone you trust. It's your choice. Lisa's Paint and Body.
License number MP46050.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. As most of you know, it's that time of year again. Tax refund time. What does that mean for all of us? It means that every single car dealer in town will be trying to shout the loudest for you to bring in your tax refund. Bring in your W-2s, and they will put you in a car. A used car that is nothing like what you really want. Well, guess what? Kraft Nissan's New For You program is an absolute game changer. We don't need your tax return. We don't need to see your W-2. And absolutely the best of all, we will not sell you an overpriced used car. And that is exactly why at Kraft Nissan, we call it the New For You program. We will plug your information into our system, which approves 4 out of 5 people with damage credit, and at the end of the day, you will drive away in a brand new Nissan, with or without a tax refund. You know the deal. Recently divorced? No problem. Recent bankruptcy? No problem. Credit score under 600? No problem. And it's not tied to taxes. Come see how easy it is for you to drive away in a new Kraft Nissan. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag in your car, you paid too much. Way too much. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Join us for 8 days of nonstop tennis as the rising stars of the USTA Pro Circuit battle for a main draw wildcard into the French Open. It's the 18th annual Tallahassee Tennis Challenger, April 22nd through the 29th at the Forest Meadows Tennis Complex. Proceeds benefit the Wagner Neurointensive Care Unit at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Sponsored by the Florida Lottery, Tallahassee Democrat, the City of Tallahassee, Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, 850 Business Magazine, and Comcast.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Lawn Maintenance Tuesday, presented by Miller's Tree Service. Call Miller's today at 894-TREE. That's 894-8733.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Spring games this weekend. Are you going to go?
Maybe. It's on ESPN TV, proper. Yeah. Rex Ryan is going to be the analyst for that game.
That's not good. Quickly, maybe it's good. I don't know. Maybe he'll liven it up. Spring game always sucks. I'm curious, by the way, do you feel that same sort of apathy towards the spring game that I feel Florida State fans have currently?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because almost everybody is injured. You haven't had a proper spring, if you will. It doesn't seem like anybody's out there.
Are we an outlier, or does this happen to everybody? Because I feel like every spring, every camp, the receiver position, for one, the problem with the trenches is number two. The offensive line, we drafted it, or not drafted, but we recruited a huge haul a couple of years ago, a couple of cycles ago.
A couple of those guys are going to be playing, and they're going to have to play. I mean, Ball is going to play, I think, at that left tackle spot. I think certainly he's a candidate. And then Bavion Johnson's lost 30 pounds or 20 pounds, whatever everybody's talking about, how much better he looks, and he's had to take the lion's share of the snaps at center, which is a good thing, I think, because from a talent standpoint, I think he's an upgrade. If he can win the job and understand what to do. He's physically more talented than Eberle.
But, obviously, Big Rod leaving for the league was a big blow. Even though he wasn't the type of player that we had thought. And
he was still solid.
He was still solid as a rock, and he had another year. He had another year where he could improve. I mean, Jimbo at one point said he was going to be the best that ever played here. He had a chance to be the best that ever played here at tackle, and it just never went that way. But, as you project and as we get closer to the actual Alabama game and get farther away from Rod making his announcement, you go, okay. You look at that too deep and you go, really? So that kind of hurts more than it felt like it did in the moment.
I think you're hitting on the subject that will be the fear or cause the fear in Florida State fans heading into that game, which is trying to figure out what you're going to do about the offensive line. I mean, Eberle's been out and Baselli is out. So those are guys that would be competing, or one of them was going to start, we think. You don't know who your left tackle is going to be. And so, you're really going to have to fall back on that group from 2016. The only thing that you know for sure, I think, is that Leonard's at right tackle without question. Other than that, I don't think you really have a great sense. Even Landon Dickerson, his situation coming off of injury. He hasn't been able to practice, obviously, and you don't know how he's going to respond from that injury, from the surgery. So you knock on wood that it goes well, and I have no reason to assume it won't, but you just don't know. And, if you go into a season and you're not real sure what you're going to do at boundary corner, and there are three guys competing for the job, if you go into a season and you're not real sure who's going to win one of the linebacker spots, you feel like that's a debate that'll work itself out. That's a competition that'll work itself out while you're winning games, while you can win games figuring out who's the guy. When you go into a season and you're unsure of your offensive line, both in terms of ability and who's going to start, and your first opponent is Alabama, you can't win games that way. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I want to make it clear. It seems like every time I say that I have some doubts about the season, people think they jump to these conclusions. Jeff wants Fisher fired. No, but I think it's reasonable to say, look, that better work out favorably for us up front, because if not, you're looking at another 3 or 4 loss season, and that is going to up the ante in terms of discussion about what he is or isn't as a coach and what this program, more importantly, everything doesn't have to be a referendum on whether a coach is going to get fired or not. I swear, it seems in this day and age, if a guy loses a game or has an off season, we begin the discussion of whether or not he should be fired. Now, I'm not saying that's ever off the table. Certainly it's fodder. But that's not where we're at with Fisher. His record is his record. He's won a national championship. He's returned us to prominence. And even Florida State's bad seasons are still pretty damn good. Like last year's a good example. Wasn't a great season, but you finish it with an Orange Bowl win over Michigan and the $9 million man there and all that. So I'm not saying his job is in jeopardy or anything like that. But I could see where a fan base would be incredibly frustrated by yet another kind of middling season with what he's recruited.
To steal some terminology that you've used in the past, a stew of discontent, I believe is
yeah.
Okay, this is like the malaise souffle. And there's a lot that goes into the malaise souffle.
All right, I like it.
Number one is the offensive line that you're talking about.
It starts and stops there.
And think about it this way. In 2013, before the title run, we didn't know that it was going to be a title run until we beat Clemson. Then we thought, okay, now it's on. You started to believe at the spring game. You really believed after Pitt, and you knew after Clemson. Now, that was the progression. But you felt like you were a quarterback away. And right or wrong, I think we felt closer to 2013 in 2016 than we did anything else. We felt like, all right, is Francois going to be the guy? Can we trust him? Because if he is, then we love what we have on defense, and we have Dalvin, and we have enough in the receiving core, and we have enough experience that one would think that we can put a run together. So that was the expectation. Then the reality hit. Then Louisville happened, and so people are uneasy in a year removed from that to have expectations at all. Plus the reality that Alabama is as consistent as any program in the country, and they're looming large. So then you look to the defense and you say, well, that should be the strength of the team. Well, we said the same thing last year. And how did it come out? So people are really uneasy about that. If you did a confidence poll the way they do for politicians or an approval rating, Charles Kelly's approval rating wouldn't be all that high.
No, he's a wonderful guy, unlike politicians typically, but he is right now in question in terms of ability to get the job done.
So where do you look? Who do you look to? What player do you look to and say everything's going to be okay? Because it can't even be Derwin James.
Well,
because
here's what I'll say.
He's been gone for 10 games.
But here's what I'll say. Their personnel, you love their personnel. This defensive line is going to wreak havoc. Obviously, Derwin's on the back end. You got talent all over that field on defense. If they're bad, then you could fire him mid-game. I mean, that's ridiculous. They should not be bad. They're loaded there. I go into this season, and I'll be beating this drum all off season, and you guys are going to roll your eyes, but I don't know what we've got offensively. I don't know what we're going to be able to do. Sure, you can point to a guy and be excited about what he's capable of, but as a collective unit, I seriously question whether or not this offense is going to carry its weight, whether or not it's going to be very good. And that's concerning. Obviously, that's concerning because the problem starts with the offensive line. And if that's not good, you can't move the ball. You can't win. You can't win. No matter how good DeAndre Francois becomes, we certainly know he's tough. And when he's right, he's really good. When he's off, he's inaccurate. So he's got to get better than there. But I love Francois. So, he won me over a year ago. We talked about that. So I'm Team Francois there. I'm fine. And I like individuals on that offense. And if Cam Akers is all that they say he is, and certainly I hope he is.
Then you've got another eraser.
Yeah, you've got a guy that can help erase some problems. But if your problem is the offensive line, you can't overcome that. Even with Dalvin the eraser, we lost 3 games.
It's not like we're great at special teams. And there were no changes in that regard. People talk about defensive staff changes. We needed to change something about special teams. Ridiculous. It has been bad. Well, really bad.
You talk about approval ratings. Yeah, Bill Miller is not real high on the list of people that Florida State fans would champion. And then I would tell you the same with Charles Kelly. And, look, here's good news. Cam's also returning kicks.
Yeah, but can we punt? Can we kick? Can we cover? Because coverage teams are really bad, too. I mean, ever since Kelly went from special teams to DC and Graham took his place at special teams, outside of, debt turning into profit with Case and Beatty for a few games.
And that came out of nowhere. We certainly couldn't have predicted that. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
1200 or online at ctf.nu.
If you're struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-419-2201, 800-419-2201, 800-419-2201. That's 800-419-2201. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details, not available in all states.
Join us for 8 days of nonstop tennis as the rising stars of the USTA Pro Circuit battle for a main draw wildcard into the French Open. It's the 18th annual Tallahassee Tennis Challenger, April 22nd through the 29th at the Forest Meadows Tennis Complex. Proceeds benefit the Wagner Neurointensive Care Unit at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Sponsored by the Florida Lottery, Tallahassee Democrat, the City of Tallahassee, Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, 850 Business Magazine, and Comcast.
It's Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot, where right now 5 bags of EarthGrow or Vigoro colored mulch are just $10. It helps retain ground moisture and protects your plants, keeping its rich color for up to 12 months in shades of red, brown, or black that'll really set off your garden and your spring. Get Spring Black Friday prices on EarthGrow or Vigoro mulch, 5 bags for just $10. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through April 5th. Limit 60 bags per customer. Color selection varies by store.
It's the final days of Mattress Firm's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you've ever wanted a Tempur-Pedic or Sealy, it's your last chance to save up to 70% off. Plus, take up to $2,000 off floor models. We're liquidating every Tempur-Pedic and Sealy in stock to make room for the next generation of innovative sleep products. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, only at your local Mattress Firm while supplies last. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/circulars. Product offer and prices may vary in Hawaii.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
Conley Gordon, the national championship is back in the ACC. North Carolina 71-65 winners over Gonzaga last night. Roy Williams cuts the nets for the third time in his storied career. with the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, if you're already looking ahead to next year, well, sportsbooks in Vegas already have the top three, Kentucky, Duke, and Louisville, as your early favorites at 10-1. The Florida Gators coming in at a 20-1 odds next year. Well, the Florida State baseball team back in action today. They've got a 2-game set. They'll take on Florida Gulf Coast today and tomorrow before they head on the road to North Carolina State. Some breaking news in the National Football League, and, well, it's the story we all expected to come. Tony Romo has been released by the Dallas Cowboys. He will not play again. He has decided to turn in his football cleats for the TV booth.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Lawn Maintenance Tuesday, presented by Miller's Tree Service. Call Miller's today at 894-TREE. That's 894-8733.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free always. See, I knew that was going to happen. How about that first hour? Just starting fires. If you're sitting at a red light or if you're listening at your office, whatever you're doing, I apologize. I don't mean to make it sound so bleak. But I think obviously you've got to talk honestly about the situation with the baseball team. I think, obviously, while it was great to win 26 basketball games this year, and we celebrated that, tournament train was a lot of fun. Getting there, winning a game, that was nice. But losing what they lose, I think it's realistic to talk about that not being a very good team next year. And if that's the case, look, I can certainly understand why at that point everybody will be ready to part ways with Ham. And then from there, the football team, with all the injuries they've had, reality's reality. They lost 3 games a year ago. They didn't make a change on the staff defensively. A lot of people wanted that. This spring has been sort of meh, because of all the guys that are missing time. So it doesn't feel like there's a lot of forward momentum. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't feel like it's taking place, really, from a coverage standpoint. Obviously those players are sweating and bleeding on the practice fields, and they're getting ready, the ones that are healthy. And that's great. And that's what they do.
There's a lot of talent there, and they could end up being great if the offensive line's any good.
But the problem is, and then you had the break, too. You had the spring break, which is crazy. I don't know how Fisher ever approved of that. Was it because they had to tie a certain spring game date to Doak Campbell? Why was it that they would schedule and have that break? Unless he's trying something experimental with a resting procedure, it just doesn't make sense for him.
Yeah, but he said it didn't. He was asked about that and whether it felt. I'm paraphrasing here, but whether or not it felt convoluted. And he said it didn't really have an effect. But he's going to say what he's going to say. There's not a lot of media availability over there. So what I would suggest is that the reason it feels like it's not really going on is partly because a lot of guys aren't playing. A lot of guys are out with various injuries. And you really don't get anything. You're not allowed to watch practice. You don't get to see the scrimmages. There's nothing that you can watch. So other than the message he's going to give you, which right now isn't much, the message that Jimbo Fisher is sending this spring is we're going to be tough. If you go back and watch the times that he talks to the press post-practice, or if he has an actual press conference, really it seems to me that he's trying to, again, make this group tougher. I think he was very frustrated by that group a year ago, which in his mind, to varying degrees at various points of the season, was soft. Toughness is big with him. It makes all the sense in the world because it's football, after all, and you have to be tough to win football games. Got to be talented. Well, they got talent, but you got to be tough. And I don't know, why that didn't seem to kind of sink in with that group a year ago, or at least it didn't appear to. It's enough to frustrate the head coach. So this is, in my opinion, this is him talking. So clearly that's the resounding message coming out of that camp, is that he wants to toughen them up. And so that's fine. I mean, they went live with the quarterbacks. Clearly you're sending a message at that point. But it doesn't result in a lot of new information for us to vet and talk about, which would then garner more interest in the process of a spring camp.
Well, and there aren't that many figures on the roster that are worth talking to. And that's not to say that some of these kids aren't fine interviews for availability. But, if you think back to the formative years in the Fisher days, you always had somebody, or at least 2 or 3 guys, that you could talk to that would not only give you a quote, but they would they would give you a 30-second, 1-minute feel for how things are going in practice. I mean, Greg Reed was one of those guys. You could see if the day was good or the day was bad. Christian Ponder was the quarterback. Then E.J. Manuel was the quarterback. Or you had Jernigan or Telvin Smith. I mean, LaMarcus Joyner. You're not always going to get the colorful personality, but you got a sense that even if those guys weren't giving you a whole lot in a given day, they spoke for the team. They were the guy. They were Jimbo's knighted press liaison. And so they could go and speak. You gave them a little bit more leash. They could speak a little bit more freely, but you knew that they were all on the same page. They're just, it's not DeAndre, it's Derwin is one of the greatest players, perhaps in our program's history from a physical standpoint. And when it's all said and done, from what he could do at the next level standpoint. But do you feel like when he's going to sit down in front of a microphone that this is must-see TV, or this is something that we have to cut up for the show? No.
Well, there aren't a lot of storylines right now.
There aren't storylines, but there aren't interesting guys that are willing to, take that role for the team, and they will be where the buck stops on the roster.
Right.
There just hasn't been anybody empowered to do that yet.
No, there hasn't. And again, there aren't, just from the camp side of things, when you talk about whether it's fodder for a radio show or information for an article, to write an article. They're just not. I mean, when you don't have a quarterback competition, that takes away an awful lot right off the bat.
But he's also a mouthpiece for Jimbo. I mean, he's a cliche factory. DeAndre's not interested in talking to the media,
well,
and that's fine. As a fan, I don't care. Go do what you got to do, man.
That's right.
But when you're trying to cover a team and present what's happening, there really isn't a guy who is the window into what's happening.
Well, and for that reason, I will say, and it hasn't happened this spring, but I am very interested in this season because they are potentially going to be very, very good. Obviously, they're going to be extremely well thought of. Just wait till the preseason mags start coming out and where you see that Florida State ranking in that top 5. I mean, the thought process is another playoff appearance or a playoff appearance for this group. That DeAndre Francois will take the next step forward. Certainly went a long way in proving his toughness mentally and physically a year ago. If he can just become a little bit more accurate, he'll take that next step forward. He's an unquestioned leader in the sense that he's willing to sacrifice. So you got a guy at the most important position that you believe in. And if that offensive line, and that is a big I and a big F, and that's what everybody's concerned about, if that offensive line is good, well, there's more than enough talent for this group to be very good and have a great season and make a playoff run. But I don't get the sense that there's a lot of faith that that's going to be the case. And that's because the offensive line over the years has been really kind of the bugaboo and wildly inconsistent. People get very, very angry when the name Rick Trickett comes up. That is a quick way to get into a nasty discussion right off the bat about somebody not pulling their weight. That's usually how this comes up. And if you just take a sample of my email inbox or tweets after games, you'd see that the number one talking point is always the offensive line. Now, that's true, I think, probably with most fan bases, most teams. Everybody thinks their offensive line has problems. But in truth, this group has been very inconsistent. It seems to me that he's either had groups that were really, really good or really the problem with the team.
Last year coming out of the spring game, which was in Orlando, we felt, okay, you have your quarterback. Certainly, remember, Malik Henry was part of the discussion. It looks like you got a quarterback long-term, and you have a quarterback for right now. So Henry was impressive in the little window that we saw, and Francois is clearly going to be the guy. You felt great about Auden Tate. You knew you had Dalvin Cook. You had Derwin James. DeMarcus Walker come back for another year, and that's pretty awesome because that moves Ricky Leonard to the offensive line.
Right.
And then you had Josh Sweat, who was going to be healthy and had a full offseason to work. And you had Travis Rudolph coming back. I mean, there were all these guys, and you pointed to individuals, and you said, well, here's a reason why X is going to happen, and here's what this can free us up to do from a dynamic standpoint on offense. There were a lot of reasons to look forward to that season and feel hope. And then we got to Charlotte, and we talked to Jimbo, and then you go to fall camp, the first press conference, and you get nothing but positive vibes. I mean, it's not just the fact that there's a lack of continuity in spring ball. It's not just the fact that there are injuries to guys. It's not just the fact that there aren't polarizing people on the team or roster that can steal a headline and make a news cycle for a day. There's just, you're looking for a reason to feel pumped about teaching Alabama a lesson.
Oh, well,
versus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there have been years in the recent past where you said, bring them on. Great. It's the Notre Dame game, even with Golson, you're like, bring them on. Get them down here. Let's teach Notre Dame a lesson.
Right.
That is not the feeling. And I wonder if last year we might have felt a little bit more that way. I mean, Ole Miss was the opening game and we thought, all right, good. They're down this year. Their roster is purged a lot of players, and it's in our home state, and we're peaking at the right time. I mean, you don't know when you schedule these things out, when you're going to catch the program.
Is going to be right.
But this is our time, and here we go. There's none of that. Nobody, I mean, just talking with a casual Nole fan, nobody's saying, I can't wait to play Alabama because the world's going to see what we can do. It's just not there.
No, the phrasing would go, I can't wait to play Alabama. I fear the world's going to see what we can do. I mean,
that's sad but true.
I do know, though, that is a game. I mean, if you talk about the offseason and how laborious it can be, but in truth, I mean, that's what's going to be on the minds of everybody from now until that game kicks off. That's an exciting first game, and it's awesome to be the first game in that stadium, to go. You know, we're all going. Everybody's going. We'll be there covering it. Everybody's excited about that game. It's just that, as I said last week, I don't know that a lot of people are excited because they think we're going to win it. And so maybe that adds to sort of that just sort of limbo that you feel. It's weird to be excited about a game that you don't think you're going to win. That kind of rarely happens.
But, okay, you got ears to the ground. You know, last year at this time, wasn't there buzz? You know, from the ears to the ground? Not just us, not just people who
are out there every day that watch it. Yeah, absolutely.
No, the people who are dialed in. They were talking. They were saying, okay, we got through that 2015 season that we all knew what it was going to be, and that's precisely what it was. But here we go. Time to gear up, guys, because we got us another cycle here, another 2 to 3 year window where he has loaded this roster. It's been crickets this spring.
I think in a weird way he wants it that way. I think Coach Fisher wants there to be very little chatter because I think a year ago the chatter was overwhelming. And then you had Showtime here. You had the whole situation. It was a very public year, and some things went terribly wrong. And, you know, I mean, if you try it one way and you have those kinds of setbacks, well, you know, you tend to pull back quite a bit. And I think he's pulled back an awful lot. You're not getting a lot from Coach Fisher right now. You're not getting a lot from the football program right now in terms of their availability and what you can glean from these practices. So, yeah, it makes sense that it would be a little quiet, but I think that's all by design. And, again, the fan says, great, yeah, I didn't like that. That didn't work. It was cool to have access. It was great. That was fun. But Louisville happened, and we can never let that happen again. Let's gather ourselves. Whether that had anything to do with it or not, there'll be the perception, right? The perceived.
I certainly believe if kids have to bring into the routine the fact that they have to stage playing pool together in the lounge and ask each other questions, that can't be great for the weekly routine. It may just be a 10-minute interruption. Well, come on, man. We're going to sit down at a local eatery in Tallahassee and discuss. So who do you think is going to be starting at wide receiver this weekend?
It may not have been the wise choice on my part for the job that I do, but I didn't watch that last year. I saw the first one, and I didn't watch after that because I realized it was what it was.
There were a couple, like the game day stuff was fantastic. You can't fake that, and if you do, you should be fired immediately.
Right? No, you can't fake that. Well, you're right. The footage showed on that show from the game. You can watch snippets of that and glean something.
Most everything else looked like it had a screenplay on the floor just outside the shot.
Hey, listen, I liked at the time. Now, you know, I don't know. Can you know for certain?
Bing bong. Who's there at the door? It's Derwin James.
I don't know if you can note how much of an uptick you got in recruiting from the PR job that was that show. But I think from that standpoint, I liked what it did for the program. It made this place look larger than life. And if you're a kid, I was thinking about high school kids, they probably were, you know, sitting there with their mouths agape in certain situations when you look at the football offices and the things that they've done there. But yeah, for those of us who cover that team and know what's real and what's not, you're like, okay, So we're going to do 20 minutes of stage stuff here. That's what we're doing. So then I only need to tune in to the actual game day footage. Other than that, there's no reason to watch that.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Double grilled inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters, your full-service marina.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a game-winning kick.
He's got a chance. It's good from 55.
Lunchtime never tasted so good. Try the Corner Pocket's weekday lunch special, featuring a new dish each day, plus a tea, fountain drink, or domestic draft for only $7.99. And Tuesday is trivia night. The questions start at 7 p.m. as you enjoy $3.25 domestic Big Daddies, $6.75 domestic pitchers, and a selection of $5 apps. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone.
Appalachie Parkway next to Earth Fair.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Customers constantly tell us that they're getting several estimates to compare apples to apples. You ever bite into an apple and find out the inside is rotten? Cheap roofing quotes are just like that rotten apple. Quote looks shiny and delicious because it's the cheapest, right? But you wind up with that rotten apple that leaks or starts to fail immediately. All roofing quotes are not equal. Cheap estimates equal cheap materials, subpar labor, or both. For quality that lasts, call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
It's Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot. And right now, you can save up to 35% on appliances, like the Whirlpool stainless steel French door refrigerator. With its AccuChill temperature management system and full-width pantry, it keeps food at the correct temperature. And during Spring Black Friday, it's a special buy at just $998. Over $700 in savings. Nobody beats our prices. Guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details. Valid through April 12th.
If there's one thing the pros at Advance Auto know, it's parts.
Advance Auto Parts and Batteries, this is Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey. I'm on your website, and it says I can buy online and then pick up in store.
Yes.
And how long does that usually take?
30 minutes or less.
I need a battery for my 2013 Ford Escape.
Our Autocraft Gold, it's got a 3-year warranty.
Man, you really know your stuff. I'm 33. Am I too young for a cardigan?
Too young for a cardigan.
Advance Auto Parts. We know everything about auto parts. Order online at advanceautoparts.com and pick up your order in store in just 30 minutes.
TNT Hideaway has been renting canoes and kayaks on the Wakulla River for over 40 years. In addition to kayaks and canoes, they also offer stand-up paddleboards that you can rent for your paddling pleasure to view the wildlife on the river, which includes manatees, otters, turtles, and herons. TNT Hideaway also offers kayak fishing tours, paddling on the Wassissa and St. Marks rivers, as well as coastal paddles. TNT Hideaway, 6527 Coastal Highway, Crawfordville, 925-6412, or visit them online at tnthideaway.com.
Join us for 8 days of nonstop tennis as the rising stars of the USTA Pro Circuit battle for a main draw wildcard into the French Open. It's the 18th annual Tallahassee Tennis Challenger, April 22nd through the 29th at the Forest Meadows Tennis Complex. Proceeds benefit the Wagner Neurointensive Care Unit at Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. Sponsored by the Florida Lottery, Tallahassee Democrat, the City of Tallahassee, Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, 850 Business Magazine, and Comcast.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. So it was clunky last night's national championship game, victory for North Carolina, but it was one that featured a kid performing at an incredibly high level, given the fact that both of his ankles were a mess. And I actually thought that was kind of the story, was Barry's performance, Joel Barry's performance. 2 sprained ankles, and you could tell throughout this tournament how bad it was. And he was the only one who could shoot with confidence and you know, had a lot of what for.
How many minutes on the floor would it have taken for Jackson to hit 4 3-pointers, 3 3-pointers? Barry was the only one on the roster last night for the Tar Heels who could make one from distance.
Yeah, he was, and he was playing in a lot of pain. And so when you try to, in an otherwise ugly game, where officials really kind of made a mockery of the aesthetic beauty that the sport has to offer by calling fouls and never allowing for any kind of a flow to begin whatsoever. You know, Roy Williams said after that game, and he's right about this, because I think whenever we're over at the TLC-CC, if officials start out that way and they uglify a game and it becomes disjointed early, it's going to be that way the rest of the day. They really don't have options. You were kind of talking about that. Once you do that, you paint yourself into a corner because you're forever calling to make up for the other call.
Yeah, they did in the second half especially. I thought the first half had some flow to it. It was just nobody was making baskets. But in the second half, the way it starts, you put Gonzaga in foul trouble, you know, with their 2 bigs. And you know the game's over if you leave it just like that. And there's a certain degree of sensitivity that you know, is yielding a call here. That, okay, so if you're going to call that, that's usually the terminology when we're watching the game. All right, so you're going to call that.
Yeah, you're going to call that. All right.
Well, all right, you're going to call it both ways?
That kind of day.
And they said, why, yes, we will call it both ways for the entirety of this second half.
Yeah, that was
Buckle
hard.
in.
That was really difficult. And also, you know, when you see a game get ugly like that, and then Gonzaga has a stretch where literally they don't score from the field for over 8 minutes. It's a miracle that you had the kind of ending that you did, that this game was even close, because Carolina could have blown Gonzaga out.
Yeah, you go 8 minutes without making a basket, but, you know, that tells you about all the free throws that they were shooting,
it's
too.
crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's a joke.
That's not a very good night for the officials with a showcase. You know, when you have a game of this magnitude, and that's what you give us.
Well, and it's not like, you know, the 2 teams were trying to play Wisconsin pace basketball.
They
or
wanted
Virginia
to go.
pace.
They wanted to go.
And they didn't let them. You know, that's the shame here is, again, for the 9th time, they're trying to run in the first half. They're just not making their shots. But the pace is breakneck in certain stretches in that game. Let them run. Let them do what they need to do. I mean, you had student sections for both teams last night chanting, put the whistle away.
All of that said, I think it's very impressive. And keep in mind, last hour I said that, you know, in truth, and I believe this, North Carolina ought not even be eligible to win a national championship given their infractions, and that still hasn't been dealt with by the NCAA. Aside, understanding that, I think it's very impressive that North Carolina lost the way that they did last year in the championship game and came back with the singular purpose of winning, getting to this game and winning this game. When you create that, when you do that, and Clemson just did it too in football, and it's very impressive. But Clemson's almost didn't happen because they, by all rights, should have lost with a point-blank kick at home to NC State. You know, they did have a loss. They weren't.
To Pitt.
Yeah, they did have moments where.
Oh, you got a clipping call down here in
Well,
Tallahassee.
right, but I thought they played pretty well in the game against us.
Targeting call too.
But they obviously didn't play well against Pitt, and they didn't play well against NC State. And there were lots of games in the first half of the season where, because they had made the national championship game and had their heart ripped out, the regular season felt like an afterthought. You can see that. It becomes a mindset. You just kind of go through the motions. Clemson looked like this past year, the first half of the season, it looked like every week they were going through the motions. They're playing close games with teams that they should beat by 30. That when you have just the mindset of, okay, we were this close. Yeah, we've got to do this other thing to right or wrong. It's dangerous. It's very hard. You lose focus and you can lose games and never get that opportunity. And Carolina, the entirety of this offseason on into the start of this year, everybody's picked to go back. Their singular thought was close the deal. And yet they didn't go through the motions this year. You look, they played well. They won the ACC regular season title, and they took games very seriously, and that's kind of un-Roy Williams, North Carolina-like in past years.
Yeah, as a quick aside, too, we talked a lot to listeners about college basketball this year, more than in a long, long time for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But, the listeners were more interested in the tournament this year, I found, in general. Outside of us, even after we lost, people were still asking questions about, who do you think is going to win the tournament, who you got in your Final Four. Usually after we lose or if we don't make the tournament, it's kind of a talking point, but it's not a point to talk about.
Yeah.
And the questions I always got were, well, who do you think is going to win? And the reason I picked North Carolina is what you're talking about. Because the way they won games, I mean, you're rebounding 40% of your misses. What's that about?
Well, and go back to the Oregon game.
Exactly.
Your season is allowed to continue because of that.
Yes, exactly. Offensive boards.
Yeah.
And that's all about heart, effort, commitment. I mean, that's listen, you can look at the administration and the athletic department and everything about the university and where it should be from an infraction standpoint and say one thing, but that team was likable this year. That group of kids, the way they played. I mean, that's why I picked them to win the title, and a lot of people did because they're a 1 seed. But just the idea that if you are going to rebound 40% of your misses, you can have a bad night and rack up second chance points like crazy with the two bigs you have, and they cared. I mean, Barry is a player who obviously cares a lot.
Yeah,
he cared a lot about winning.
Yeah, and he was the most outstanding player of the Final Four.
And you have effort on the glass. I mean, that's just a recipe for something else. And then, heaven forbid you shoot 45, 50% for the night with that group of kids. I mean, you're going to blow teams out. They didn't last night. They just got lucky that Gonzaga missed how many point-blank shots? 10? Easily.
A lot of layups missed last night. A lot of layups
like
missed
us
last
and Cameron
night.
Indoor.
Shouldn't be lost in this story of North Carolina getting to the championship game last year, losing in heartbreaking fashion on the big shot Villanova last play of the game. Getting back this year and winning it is they've not had a freshman leave North Carolina for the NBA since Brandon Wright did it in 2007. That's not a one-and-done program. We've had as many one-and-dones as North Carolina. Can you believe that? So that's I like to see that rewarded, although they're a blue blood, so I roll my eyes. They get the best players in the country, but they come back.
But it's not like they're not All-Americans when they go there.
Oh, no.
They're not finding a kid who's just a tick below an All-American.
Oh, no,
McDonald's
they get studs, but studs who stay.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
I wonder how.
Well, we know one of the ways. Have them take fake courses. Easier
Absolutely.
to maintain your grades.
You're pulling Auburn, apparently.
That's an interesting story. I want to get into that. We'll do that next. That is crazy. The Auburn story, if you haven't seen it, is this, and that is that, maybe, at least according to one writer, Auburn bribed their players to come back, changed their grades in order for them to stay eligible in the Gene Chizik National Championship season.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
Nothing like what you really want. Well, guess what? Kraft Nissan's New For You program is an absolute game changer. We don't need your tax return. We don't need to see your W-2. And absolutely the best of all, we will not sell you an overpriced used car. And that is exactly why at Kraft Nissan, we call it the New For You program. We will plug your information into our system, which approves 4 out of 5 people with damage credit. And at the end of the day, you will drive away in a brand new Nissan, with or without a tax refund. You know the deal. Recently divorced? No problem. Recent bankruptcy? No problem. Credit score under 600? No problem. And it's not tied to taxes. Come see how easy it is for you to drive away in a new Kraft Nissan. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag in your car, you paid too much. Way too much. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Commercial lawnmowers don't have odometers, but if they did, you might be surprised to see you could be mowing thousands of miles a year. That's why Gravely zero-turn mowers are built for the long haul. So when you're mowing the equivalent of Miami through Kentucky bluegrass country, all the way to Seattle, and back again every year, you can count on your Gravely zero-turn mower to get the job done, mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
0 money down and 0% interest with qualifying credit. Only at TNT Supercenter. Get your Gravely mower today.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters, your full-service marina.
This Day in Sports, brought to you by Superlube, 19 Tallahassee area locations. Quick, convenient, no appointment necessary. Get your history lesson weekdays at 5:30 during the Jeff Cameron Show, right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Spring is in the air, and so is Seminole football. The Tallahassee Quarterback Club is kicking off the year with an amazing tailgate event at the Garden & Gold Spring Football Game on Saturday, April 8th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm the Tallahassee Quarterback Club President, Johnny Devine, inviting you to come learn more about the prestigious Tallahassee Quarterback Club while enjoying some free beer, soft drinks, delicious food, meet former FSU players, and enjoy live music from the band Houston D's. It's free and a fun way to kick off the Noles 2017 season. Invite your friends and join us at the Tallahassee Quarterback Club Spring Tailgate Event, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., right near the entrance of Dick Hauser Stadium. See you there.
If you have hard water, the Lime Scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate Lime Scale and other water issues like brown staining, bad odors, and lead with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to goodclearwater.com. That's goodclearwater.com.
It's easy to get lost in a Milky Way.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, Doc, I was very upset. It was obviously
okay,
my
I have time to sneak in a Milky Way bar. Rich chocolate. Oh, that golden caramel. Delicious. It's...
Dr. Jones?
What? Sorry, I was eating a Milky Way.
Huh. So, my boss says...
And we're out of time. Let's pick it up next week?
Get deliciously distracted. Pick up a Milky Way at your local retailer today.
Tallahassee Sports Center.
Conley Gordon, the national championship is back in the ACC. North Carolina 71-65 winners over Gonzaga last night. Roy Williams cuts the nets for the third time in his storied career with the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, if you're already looking ahead to next year, well, sportsbooks in Vegas already have the top three, Kentucky, Duke, and Louisville as your early favorites at 10-1. The Florida Gators coming in at a 20-1 odds next year. Well, the Florida State baseball team back in action today. They've got a 2-game set. They'll take on Florida Gulf Coast today and tomorrow before they head on the road to North Carolina State. Some breaking news in the National Football League, and, well, it's the story we all expected to come. Tony Romo has been released by the Dallas Cowboys. He will not play again. He has decided to turn in his football cleats for the TV booth.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Lawn Maintenance Tuesday, presented by Miller's Tree Service. Call Miller's today at 894-TREE. That's 894-8733.
Yeah, well, by the way, since it's really kind of a gripe fest today to some extent, I'm going to add to the gripe list, and that is stop playing national championship basketball games or basketball games, period, in football stadiums. It does nothing for the atmosphere. It does nothing for the feel. Watching that at home, it felt like you're watching them on the surface of an aircraft carrier. It's bizarre.
Which they've done before.
Which they have done before. All right, so we noticed this before the break, and that is there is a report, ESPN.com news services, if you will. Auburn's football program, this is the lead, changed players' grades to secure eligibility. All right, so if you just read that sentence, you'd say, yeah, it goes on everywhere. I hope we change our players' grades so that they're eligible. I mean, if we're being honest.
That would be what I'm looking for.
Offered money to potential NFL draft picks so they would return for their senior seasons. Well, if we're not doing that, we should really look into it. These are all wonderful ways to secure championship seasons. And violated NCAA recruiting rules under former coach Gene Chizik, according to a report by former New York Times and Sports Illustrated writer Selena Roberts. The report appears on Roberts' website. According to 3 former Auburn players, as many as 9 Auburn players' grades were changed before Auburn's win in the 2011 BCS National Championship game. Quote, we thought we would be without running back Mike Dyer because he said he was one of them, but Auburn found a way to get these dudes eligible, former Auburn defensive lineman Mike Blanc told Roberts.
So, somebody spoke up.
He told ESPN's Jonathan Coachman on Thursday that the report was not true, though. He tweeted Wednesday and said, quote, man, this article is outrageous. According to his uncle, Andre Dyer, Michael Dyer said he was never even close to being academically ineligible prior to the 2011 BCS National Championship game. Dyer made the game-sealing run as a true freshman in the title game against Oregon. He ran for 1,093 yards as a freshman, over 1,200 yards as a sophomore before leaving the program for an undisclosed violation of team rules. If Dyer or other Tigers players were found to have been ineligible to compete at the time, Auburn's national championship could become, well, jeopardized. In a statement released Thursday, Auburn Athletics Director Jay Jacobs said Auburn is reviewing the report, even though the school has no reason to believe these allegations are either accurate or credible. According to the report, Auburn coaches offered money to players for any number of reasons, including as a means to convince players to bypass the NFL draft. Darvin Adams, a former Auburn wide receiver, told Roberts the coaches offered him cash to keep him in school. Blanc and Mike McNeil, a former Auburn player, told Roberts the money amounts reached several $1,000s. Quote, coaches would say, don't tell anyone where you get this from. McNeil told Roberts he had a meeting with then defensive coordinator Will Muschamp, now Florida's coach, back in 2007, that he had that meeting. I had no clue what it was about because I'd never directly asked him for anything, McNeil told Roberts. He slid about $400 over to me. He went into a drawer and gave me money and said, is this enough? Is this good? And I said, yeah, I'm good.
$400?
Man, you should just take it on to the league. I mean,
$400? $400? You try to do with $400?
But that is a resurfacing of an older story that is coming back out again, and people were talking about. And I just, anyhow.
That's not believable. $400. Really?
Well, and that story had been looked into before the Roberts thing, and there was another story that came after that. And this is the third time now that there was an HBO thing.
Yeah.
So it's like the third time that happened and that's been brought back up. Auburn's like, good God, we won that thing ages ago. It's time to move on. Which most have. You know what's funny? Whenever you read any of those reports, whenever you read anything like this, and there have been those accusations about almost every program that ever wins a national title, I think that today's fans just assume. I mean, fans of schools that compete at a very high level just assume that most of the stuff that you read in those kinds of things are happening at their school, even if it's not true.
That's funny that you say that, though, because before you said that, I was thinking in my head, you brushed over the idea that I hope we're doing the same thing. And this is something that makes athletic departments uncomfortable, especially if they're listening over there.
Kind of kidding.
We know they're listening over there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the casual fan driving down the street and say, wait a minute, what? I don't know that everybody is as wise to the game. I think diehard college football fans, of which most listeners to this program are, say, well, yeah, I mean, it is big-time college football, and there's some winning to be done here. But I think the casual fan, either listening at work or driving around town right now, says, wait a minute, no, that's not that prevalent, is it? But, I mean, things happen in order for kids to get on campus and or stay on campus.
I never know what I believe about that. Just is when you talk about it, when you say it out loud, it sounds so crazy, too crazy to be true. But then we read these stories about every school, or a lot of schools anyhow, and certainly those that are perennial top 25 teams. And you read it, and then later on there's confirmation in some cases, and you go, well, here we are talking about North Carolina's national championship, and we know what happened there, and it went on for 2 decades.
But there's an open talking point every year, and it happens on recruiting message boards. Sometimes coaches even talk about it, too, when they're talking about the sport in general. Or if you're at Notre Dame, Brian Kelly will bring this up. Entrance requirements. That's an open talking point. On signing day, you get a guy that a recruiting analyst, an insider for whatever service says, I don't know, it's going to be close. Well, they're talking about standardized test scores. They're talking about GPAs and whether or not they're going to be up to the standard of the university. But, I could promise you that they're not up to the standard of the regular admissions department, that if you are a regular kid in high school trying to apply to Florida State University,
correct, yeah.
You're not abiding by that code. It's not as strict as you have to have X amount on your SAT if you're a regular citizen. No, there's a sliding scale that goes on here. And I'm sure the scale slides in one direction or another depending upon, if you're a real bona fide blue chipper who's 330 pounds as an 18-year-old, but is only 25% body fat. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
That kind of stuff goes on, but I don't know that the casual college football fan really considers that all that much.
I think the casual college football fan considers a player getting a $500 handshake from a booster as probably every day. Maybe not every day, but just a common occurrence. Because that kind of stuff's been talked about. Maybe not in the way that we do now where everything is consumed 24 hours, come back, do it again. These news cycles are with the internet. But I think, I remember people talking about this in the 80s. It was already started to be talked about in that way in college football. That programs did that. Oklahoma with the Boz. And these things got brought up.
It's hard to sort through because, again, most people who are going to listen to the program are going to be diehard, fans of the sport, at least. There's some Gator fans and Bulldog fans and Cane fans that listen to the show, just as Knowles fans mostly listen to the show. But I find, at least in practice, going out and, interacting with either family, friends, extended family, and we talk about the sport, they don't necessarily have it as just a known fact.
They're not as jaded.
No.
That's good. They're not as cynical, I should say. Yeah, that's good.
But there's truth to us being cynical, too, I would think. It's just, I wonder where they lie. Maybe it's worthy of a poll question. I don't know.
I always think, what I always think when I read anything to do with scandalous behavior from coaches at a big-time football program or alleged scandals, I always think that, we get that there's a wink-wink, nod-nod element to all this. Look what happens when you bring back Damian Craig. Did everybody get excited because of his coaching acumen?
Right, yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of like everybody goes, oh, all right, back in business. Now, that may not be fair. I don't know. But that's what a lot of people assume.
He helped, make Jameis throwing motion a little bit more efficient. That actually did happen. But, that wasn't the primary purpose of him being at Florida State University.
He was considered by a lot of people at every program he's ever been at to be kind of mercenary-like, kind of a, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a bag man. That may not be fair to him at all. I don't know. And again, I'm not saying that just to protect my hide. I don't know. I think these things if you're a really elite recruiter, it's assumed you're cheating to be an elite recruiter.
As it stands right now, because he is in a support staff role, not an assistant coach's role, he's in charge of on-campus recruiting. So once the kids get here, he can't go visit. But when they come here, he will be the liaison in that role. And, well, if those rumors were true, this would be one hell of a role to hire him for. That he's right in the position where the family gets on campus and Damian is talking to the family. That's a hell of a thing.
It's a great thing, Tom. Try to win some football games around here.
I guess maybe it is an open secret. I've just found enough conversations where
I
say, well, that's how they get the kid on campus, or I'll insinuate something. The person goes, huh? Like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, you didn't realize.
It never occurred to you that, perhaps.
That's willful ignorance. I think anybody who pays attention to the game and knows the money that's in the game has to assume where there's that much money being made by coaches and universities in television.
The one thing I will say is I'm sure it's really efficient and clean and quick in most circumstances. It's not because everybody likes to think about the dark room and 7 lines of dialogue before something exchanges. It just happened. You know what I mean? I think that's the way it works.
That's exactly
and
the way
nobody
it would work.
says nothing.
Well, and you get into plausible deniability. And I think actually the way that schools cheat, not that they are cheating, but the way that programs go about the process of cheating the system and manipulating and maneuvering to get players to come to their school, actually, there's, honor amongst thieves. I think that the college football fan lives with that credo. Sort of, it's my classic, I'm always telling you, you can speed. We all speed. We're all on the interstate going over 70. So if I'm driving 80 and you're driving 80, I'm not thinking worse of you or anything like that. It's not until you pass me going 150 that we have a problem. Now, we're all out here breaking the law, but sir.
Or if you're going 95 in Hoover, Alabama, and, you're not Alabama, the program.
That's correct.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're trying to build a pipeline here.
There are rules about that.
Yeah.
That's the honor amongst thieves. That's they're saying. There are creeds.
These are my street corners.
That's right. I will break the laws in my own state. You can't come over from another state and be breaking our laws. That's not the way this works. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Like halfway down, all the
about
way
halfway.
up, at the ankle?
At halfway, look.
Holy. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a game-winning kick.
He's got a chance. It's good for 55.
Lunchtime never tasted so good. Try the Corner Pockets weekday lunch special, featuring a new dish each day, plus a tea, fountain drink, or domestic draft for only $7.99. And Tuesday is Trivia Night. The questions start at 7 p.m. as you enjoy $3.25 domestic Big Daddies, $6.75 domestic pitchers, and a selection of $5 apps. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Appalachie Parkway next to Earth Fair.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
customers constantly tell us that they're getting several estimates to compare apples to apples. You ever bite into an apple and find out the inside is rotten? Cheap roofing quotes are just like that rotten apple. Quote looks shiny and delicious because it's the cheapest, right? But you wind up with that rotten apple that leaks or starts to fail immediately. All roofing quotes are not equal. Cheap estimates equal cheap materials, subpar labor, or both. For quality that lasts, call us at 656-8112.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame he owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, and bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the Tax Relief Line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 888-789-5042. 888-789-5042, 888-789-5042, 888-789-5042.
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
So basically, the Ravens decided they were not going to pay Timmy Jernigan. And that's what's happened. That's the only, I'm deducing this. He was going to be owed a lot of money next year and was asking for a ton of money, apparently, behind the scenes, as he should be. He's really good. So the Ravens traded him. And if you're an Eagles fan, you celebrate today because you just got Tim Jernigan and a third-round pick. Basically, you changed your pick, your third-round pick, for the Eagles' third-round pick, 74, 99 and 74 are the picks, respectively. So trading draft choices and getting in the third round and getting a really good defensive tackle, that'll work. The Ravens figured they wanted to get something out of it, so they trade him now. But if you think about it, if you're the Eagles, you're celebrating because not only did you get Timmy Jernigan, but you still have that pick and a comp pick next year if he walks.
Which I wouldn't think he would, because this isn't the type of move. The Eagles did well for themselves in free agency in terms of overhauling the wide receiver position for Wentz, and that's definitely a win for them. But I don't know that they were a Timmy Jernigan away from winning a Super Bowl. So to me, this means that they got Jernigan with a mind towards signing him. It maybe perhaps they already have had some talks with his agent, because NFL teams will do that. You know, it happens in most sports.
Yeah, if we make a play for your guy.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Now, we want to trade for this guy. Can we talk to his agent? And if a team says, no, yes, that's not tampering. Okay, go ahead. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Jernigan has an announcement here in the near term.
He's going to get his money.
Yes, exactly right.
Good for Timmy. He's been a beast since day one.
I was wondering, too, when he went out to Baltimore, is that really the best place for Timmy to go? Because a three-man front wasn't exactly what we were doing a whole lot here.
I think he could play on.
He loves it.
He does love it.
And he's got a knack.
Yeah. And also, out of the NFL today, of course, you've heard it on SportsCenter, but good on you, Tony Romo. He hasn't played a full season, since 2012?
And he relieved everybody from Phil Simms being on the call, unless they're having a three-man booth. I can't imagine they're going to have a three-man booth.
And that was the reason to celebrate. We don't have to hear Phil Simms anymore. Tony Romo will fill in. I don't know. Will step in, I should say, for CBS. I don't know if he's any good or not. I'm going to guess that he is. That he'll do a good job because he seems affable enough and knowledgeable enough. And obviously anything to get Phil Simms out of the booth is a good move.
Even if it is Tony Romo, who had one of the great hoodwink press conferences.
People bought it.
It was like
hook, line, and sinker.
He and Andy Pettit are 1-2.
The worst.
1-2.
Just roll your eyes. CBS is saying they might even use him for golf coverage. No, don't do that. Just because the man is a single handicap. No, he didn't play a minute on the PGA Tour. Don't do it.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic, backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
Kayaks on the Wakulla River for over 40 years. In addition to kayaks and canoes, they also offer stand-up paddleboards that you can rent for your paddling pleasure to view the wildlife on the river, which includes manatees, otters, turtles, and herons. TNT Hideaway also offers kayak fishing tours, paddling on the Wassissa and St. Marks rivers, as well as coastal paddles. TNT Hideaway, 6527 Coastal Highway, Crawfordville, 925-6412, or visit them online at tnthideaway.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining, bad odors, and lead with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to goodclearwater.com. That's goodclearwater.com.
It's easy to get lost in a Milky Way.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, Doc, I was very upset. It was obviously
Okay,
my
I have time to sneak in a Milky Way bar. Rich chocolate. Oh, that golden caramel. Delicious. It's...
Dr. Jones?
What? Sorry, I was eating a Milky Way.
Huh. So, my boss says...
And we're out of time. Let's pick it up next week?
Get deliciously distracted. Pick up a Milky Way at your local retailer today.
It's Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot. And right now, you can save up to 35% on appliances, like the Whirlpool stainless steel French door refrigerator. With its AccuChill temperature management system and full-width pantry, it keeps food at the correct temperature. And during Spring Black Friday, it's a special buy at just $998. Over $700 in savings. Nobody beats our prices. Guaranteed. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details. Valid through April 12th.
If there's one thing the pros at Advance Auto know, it's parts.
Advance Auto Parts and Batteries, this is Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey. I'm on your website, and it says I can buy online and then pick up in store?
Yes.
And how long does that usually take?
30 minutes or less.
I need a battery for my 2013 Ford Escape.
Our Autocraft Gold, it's got a 3-year warranty.
Man, you really know your stuff. I'm 33. Am I too young for a cardigan?
Too young for a cardigan.
Advance Auto Parts. We know everything about auto parts. Order online at advanceautoparts.com and pick up your order in store in just 30 minutes.
It's the Hyundai Spring Cleaning Sales Event. The best way to buy is the Werner way. We monitor our competition's website, TV, and radio ads to make sure you get the best price. We shop North Florida and South Georgia so you don't have to. Drive a great-looking 2017 Hyundai Elantra for $169 per month for 36 months with $19.99 due-at-lease signing. You get Hyundai Assurance with America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. Why shop anywhere else? WernerHyundai.com. Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 5th.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters, your full-service marina.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Tallahassee Sports Center.
Conley Gordon, the national championship is back in the ACC. North Carolina 71-65 winners over Gonzaga last night. Roy Williams cuts the nets. for the third time in his storied career with the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, if you're already looking ahead to next year, well, sportsbooks in Vegas already have the top three, Kentucky, Duke, and Louisville, as your early favorites at 10-1. The Florida Gators coming in at a 20-1 odds next year. Well, the Florida State baseball team back in action today. They've got a 2-game set. They'll take on Florida Gulf Coast today and tomorrow before they head on the road to North Carolina State. Some breaking news in the National Football League, and, well, it's the story we all expected to come. Tony Romo has been released by the Dallas Cowboys. He will not play again. He has decided to turn in his football cleats for the TV booth.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Lawn Maintenance Tuesday, presented by Miller's Tree Service. Call Miller's today at 894-TREE. That's 894-8733.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. That's a good thing. Miss anything, we post all 3 hours upon the conclusion of the show, both on iTunes and in our own audio vault. That, too, is a good thing. It's brought to you with limited commercial interruption, thanks to our friends at SVN, Carlton Dean, carltondean.com, the website to learn more about income-producing properties. That's a good thing, too. All kinds of good things. The WTSM app and the YouTube feed. Go to YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee, and you can watch us. And if that's your cup of tea, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Florida State plays baseball with the starting lineup that they envisioned before the season began for the first time all year.
So wait a minute. Who's leading off?
Well, it's interesting. You look, by the way, going back to this, I was 30 games. You know, we were kind of obviously we began the show by talking about last night's national championship game, and I'll get to that in a moment. Obviously, Carolina wins it, and bravo. But 18-11 is disconcerting to say the least. Florida State has struggled, hasn't beaten good teams, and has amassed the record that they have, which isn't very good, and Martin's worst of his career. Through these 29 games, and so we were wondering, does it get better? What do? You feel like you're in a bit of a holding pattern. Well, one of the things you can hope for, and I did say there is still hope. It doesn't feel like it right now. They're not a very good team right now, but this is the first time they've had their starting lineup. It'll go Walls, Luke, Applin, Neaporte, Raleigh, Busby, Mendoza, Flowers, Henderson. That's your lineup, Tom, if you're wondering. Atop, yes, Taylor Walls is back from suspension.
The light-hitting Taylor Walls returns.
He of the 229 Walls hitting family right now. That all hurts your feelings. Obviously, he's got to be a better hitter than that. He was just a year ago. It's why he was preseason All-World, and everybody talked about this lineup being deep and versatile. A lot of ability to go left, right on people and all that good stuff. But they haven't played like it. They've been bad. They're playing Florida Gulf Coast tonight, team they lost to earlier this year. So as far as 9 hitters go, this is the expected group of names, game 30, the first time that they've all been in the lineup together at the same time. Walls, Luke, Applin, Neaporte, Raleigh, Busby, Mendoza, Flowers, Henderson. We'll see. Now begins the big turnaround, Tom Lang. Actually, all jokes aside, all sarcasm aside, one of the reasons that, obviously Martin has been so successful is that he's always been able to avoid the disastrous season, the season that seems to sneak up on everybody, even from the most successful programs around the country. You haven't seen years where Florida State is middling, years where Florida State has struggled. They've always amassed a very good record. The disappointment is because they haven't won a national championship, but it's never because they don't put together great regular seasons. They do.
Well, yeah, one point from earlier is sometimes we've had teams that they don't have the star power, but they found a way to amass those records. They found a way to either get a national seed or host at least regional. And in 2012's case, that wasn't a world beater team, but it made the College World Series. So there have been times where they've been outgunned and we question about, the ability to recruit and how consistent we are and how many elite players we really are bringing in. But this team's got star power.
No, this team's got a lot of it. That's why we thought they would be very good, and they just haven't been.
It doesn't have the pitching depth in the bullpen, and that's been the number one concern. But, it's got enough big-time players that if they do what they're supposed to do, that's the reason that the college baseball world in the preseason ranked this team as highly as it did.
If you just take them for what they were a year ago and project, as we always do with players, that another year in the system, getting stronger, getting better, more mature, working on your craft is going to continue to improve your game typically. Well, if you just take Taylor Walls at what he was last season as a sophomore and project what he'll be this year as a junior, you wouldn't have projected 229 slappy. You just wouldn't have.
Do you have to hit 229 specifically to be 229 slappy, or can you be 235 slappy?
I almost said something else. You can be anything sub 250, I'm going to call you slappy.
Okay. I like that.
250 is the standard.
It's a new rule.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to apply that to Major League Baseball, too.
I've got plenty of slappies on my team. Jackson Luke, you would have projected him to be and he's not playing poorly. Just they've had health issues. Busby, Luke, they've had health issues, so they haven't been out there. But Busby, you would have projected to be better than 260. I mean, those are just batting averages. But the guy that you really would have said there's no way he's going to dip the way that he has, besides Taylor Walls, is Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh, Tom, is hitting 228. 228, my man.
228.
Slappy,
yeah. All right.
So Taylor Walls and Cal Raleigh are two guys you expected to be studs, and they've both sucked. Mendoza breaks his thumb, comes in as the highest ranked player, and that didn't go pro, highest drafted player that didn't go pro, and he comes in, and a lot of people said if he hadn't been demanding so much money, saying, look, I want this much money, if not I'm going to college, that he would have been, first round, all that.
Sure.
So what his upside is. He's now back. He's in the lineup tonight. He's hitting 7th. Now, he began his college career, unfortunately, 0 for 10 with a walk and 2 errors. Yes. But that's just one weekend against a good North Carolina pitching staff.
And it's a spring training in a sense, even though they start
really
the
hard.
season in February. But, they said earlier in the season, I can remember you talked to Mike Martin Jr. about this in your preseason outlook, that the idea was to play Mendoza in the lower third of the lineup so he could see more fastballs.
Fastballs, baby.
And here's a midweek chance. Get right. Get ready. I understand Gulf Coast is a good team. We played a lot of good teams.
We played nothing but good teams pretty much the rest of the way, save for Miami.
But there have been years where Stetson's been a top 30 program, or JU can rise up on a weekday and beat you because they value these games differently than we value these games. But it's time that we start valuing all games, though, right? Aren't we at that point? It used to be that, work on your stuff in the midweek.
Oh, no, they got to win games now. They're 18 and 11. They're 18 and 11. Look, You're not going to be a national seed. With the schedule that they have left, you're just not going to be able to amass enough wins. What you need to be is the best you can be. I know I sound like a recruiter for the Army, but what I'm saying is truly this team has good baseball in it. They haven't played it yet. They're bad right now, period. They're bad. They kick the ball all over the lot. They're hard to watch. It pisses you off to watch them. It is shocking. Stunning to some extent.
Pisses the royal you off to watch them?
Well, I was just in awe watching them kick the ball around all weekend. It was disastrous. They gave away. You give away a game that you have a no-hitter in the 9th. I mean, because you can't pick up the baseball. It's crazy. So
I believe what you told me was something akin to, I forget, but you used the phrase, in Bryce's league, I don't, ... And that was uttered.
Yeah. Yeah.
See it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's washing across your face.
Yeah. It was it's unsettling. But the point is, they're still going to play the games, and they got a lot of good games, a lot of good teams they got to play coming up. And if you're going to do the cliche coach thing and say, well, those are opportunities, I think they are for this team because they got players. They just haven't played well. Your stars haven't been stars. They haven't been able to get on the field. A combination of injury, poor play. They got domed up. They got this thing with Florida that they can't get past, and it's affected them in other games. That's when you know you're domed up. When you lose a midweek game to your rival, and it affects you in a series against a team in your conference. It's crazy.
And here's how I know that it's newsworthy. It's small town, and this is more of a city college team than it is, Florida State fan base at large cares about Florida State baseball. City Tallahassee loves this team. I can tell you that in the last 48 hours, I've gotten texts from 3 friends of mine who don't really care all that much about FSU baseball, but they'll tune in for regionals and super regionals, and if they make it to the College World Series, they'll watch every inning of those games. But they'll check in as the season goes. I've gotten texts. What did Walls say to Martin? How is he suspended indefinitely? What's going on? What's wrong with this team?
All right, so to that end.
Yeah.
Text. This came in yesterday at 8:11 a.m. Dear friend of mine, loves FSU baseball. WTF is going on over at Hauser, Cameron? Okay? Can't hold a lead. Throw the ball all over the yard.
Good. Thank you for not being Ron Burgundy in this moment.
Yeah, all over the yard. Hard to get better at those two things during the season. That's my friend who's pissed.
I saw there was a large...
well, that's my response.
Oh, that was your response?
That's my
okay,
response.
Okay. Yeah.
They're not very good right now. Problem is they should be. They've got guys that aren't hitting who did a year ago, Taylor Walls, for example, and now they've lost all confidence in the field to boot. It's a long season, but they're in trouble. They've also struggled with injuries, haven't had their projected starting lineup together for back-to-back games all year long. He writes back, well, frankly, I just can't trust a team that would lose 17-0. I wrote back, they're kind of stuck in a rut right now. And then the conversation continues and it gets...
But I think, okay, you were talking in the first hour about being stuck. I think that's one thing about being a program of such significance.
Feeling stuck is a terrible... You'd rather almost suck,
but
like really be bad.
It's almost like, okay, you were talking about North Carolina as well, and it's, even though they played really hard in the season, that's the admirable trait about that basketball team, and they climbed all the way back. They got to the title game in a really hard tournament format to do it.
Yeah, they didn't
and
go through
won
the
damn
motions,
thing.
right? They won, yeah.
That's something that you should applaud, independent of what you might think of, and rightly think,
20 years
of the university and the athletic department. But at any rate, you know, when you're as good and as consistent as this baseball program has been, you're not going to make much news in March and April unless you're bad.
Yeah.
Like, people are used to just
like historically bad.
I'm going to check the
historically bad.
Yes, I'm going to check the standings on April 15th. Some years will be first, some years will be top 5. Most years will be in the top 15, 20, and we'll be competing for an ACC division title, and we're looking at either hosting as a national seed if we do a couple of things the last couple of weeks, or at the very least we'll be hosting a regional. But this year isn't that. And so therefore, because it's a ho-hum experience for Florida State baseball fans, this year there are people who are casual about that program that are saying at this point, whoa. Sometimes in some years we have slumps, but this year is a little bit different.
11 errors in 2 games in a showcase series against North Carolina, one that you knew you had to play well to win. There was a good team coming in, and the thought was, hey, it all starts now. You get Mendoza back. Let's start getting this team moving in the right direction. Let's get a big series win over North Carolina. You give away some games here. I don't want to take anything away from North Carolina. They're good. But you had your chances on Friday night. You'll live with a loss to that kid who's really good, who's undefeated on the season with an ERA under 1. Okay, that's going to happen. But you've got Saturday's game won.
It's a no-hitter.
It's a no-hitter in the 9th.
Everybody's feeling hunky-dory on a Monday if you take 2 out of 3 with a no-hitter on Saturday.
You lose that game. You get up 6-2 early in the game against North Carolina, and then you kick the ball over the yard again, and they come back and they rip your heart out again, 9-7. All of a sudden, you've been swept at home, and you're 18-11, and it's the worst record Martin's ever had through 29 games. And think about this. Florida State's won at least 40 games for 39 straight years. That is seriously in jeopardy. And so they're kicking the ball around. You've got players that get suspended. A player who was supposed to be a star this year has been awful. He gets suspended. Now he's back, but he got suspended. That reeks usually of problems behind the scenes, and you don't have to know what specifically those problems are, but you see that it manifests itself in the performance. So there is something wrong in the clubhouse. You got a legend who is obviously a guy that, well, you talk about consistency, that's what he can hang his hat on. He can't a national championship, but he can certainly tell you, hey, I haven't been susceptible to these seasons that you see inexplicably from other teams, other programs that have all the same resources we do, if not more. And I don't have those kinds of seasons. We win 40 games around here. We're going to host a regional. Except this year could be the exception. This year you could say, well, no, maybe not. they've got to start winning baseball games.
You don't have to be in Einstein's gene pool. Just think about what's going on here in the last month. You have a team that loses 17-0. You have a 5:30 a.m. practice on a Monday morning.
You get a
with
player
fire
gets
and
suspended.
brimstone,
And then 11 errors in 2 games.
Exactly, 11 errors in 2 games. But after that takes place, after that big stand from the coaching staff, the tactic for discipline and focusing takes place, then you have a star player on your team who still isn't hitting, pulled from a game, and then suspended indefinitely. I mean, now I know it ends up being a game plus, and he's back tonight, and he's leading off. But still, just think about that from the standpoint of, is something wrong, or are guys just going through a cold streak at the same time?
Right.
The evidence is it's there. I mean, it's an open and shut case. There is something wrong.
Well, and the question then becomes, all right, fine, something's wrong. We get it. We got it. They're not very good. But let's say now, okay, the suspension's over. We know that. Walls is in the lineup. And you got Mendoza to lengthen your lineup, hopefully provide you some much-needed pop and all that. And hopefully your health is back. Tonight's the night. You get your starting lineup out there. First time, 30 games in, you get your starting lineup out there that you envisioned before the season began. Martin's not wrong when he said the other day about all these problems. We just need to win a couple games in a row. We just need to win a couple games in a row and begin to feel good about ourselves. They've found ways to lose games. They've lost games in heartbreaking fashion. I mean, you lose 1-0 to Florida on a check swing with 2 outs. I mean, what can go wrong is going wrong. And then I think you begin to put pressure on yourself. And in baseball, baseball's hard as hell. It's a game of failure. The chances to feel bad about yourself are everywhere, every time you step in the box. It doesn't help when you press. It doesn't help when you begin to feel the weight of those expectations and frustrations.
I can promise you that if my dad came home from work on a given day and I hadn't taken the trash out yet as I was supposed to, if he had a bad day, he's going to react to that differently than if he had a good day.
That's right.
If he's having great success at work and everything is fine, there are no problems in their systems.
Tommy, let's get that trash. You know better than that.
And if he has an awful day where somebody's screaming down his neck for the wrong reasons. And
Different conversation.
Yes, it's a colorful one that can't be repeated on these airwaves.
Right.
Exactly, and that's what winning and losing does to the system. Yeah. It only makes things worse. If Walls is hitting 400...
Right, and he loafs to first.
Right. It's a bit of a different conversation, I would think, from manager to player.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, maybe next time let's worry about this. Let's worry about the hustle. But if you're hitting 220 and you're smarting off at a coach, and you haven't exactly been,
Yeah, you're hitting 220 like a slappy.
I'm talking about, you haven't been exactly a model citizen the entire year. You're not that guy who tries so hard and everybody wants it for you.
Right.
He's never a problem. That can be an issue too. So when things boil up like that organically, losing has a way of being just the multiplier from hell.
Well, I know that 6 weeks ago we thought this team was going to be a great team. And they're not. And there are a lot of reasons for that. But they're playing games. And one of them's tonight against Florida Gulf Coast.
And that's a good thing.
Well, that's the beauty of baseball. He said that a lot over the years, too. And it's true about your favorite team when you watch a 162-game season. For whatever reason. Even the Cubs, who won 100-plus games a year ago. I mean, it happens. You watch a stretch of games and you go, they can't do anything right. And you lose 7 of 8. And you're just sitting there shaking your head. And it seems like when that happens, if you're a good team, you ride the wave, you go to the ballpark, and you play again tomorrow. And you just keep playing, and it'll work itself out. You just hope there's not so much noise in the system where that can't happen, where that doesn't happen, where they don't just go play baseball.
It's one thing if that happens. It's another if you have a team meeting and then there's a report of a fight in the clubhouse before the media's let it. It's one thing if it's everybody's just slumping at the same time. But it's another if you're calling a practice at 5:30 in the morning after you just got done with a road trip. And if you suspend one of your preseason All-Americans indefinitely and you pull them out of the game, again, that changes the context of how you discuss a slump.
Without question. And let's see if they get it together. I don't know that they are. I certainly it helps get players back healthy. There's no denying that. They are talented. They haven't played like they're talented, but they are talented. But if there's a problem like the one we're describing right now, I don't know that it gets better because that's potentially toxic. And we'll see. We'll see. Maybe the sign that Walls is back is that it's a good thing that they've talked it out. The airing of the grievances has occurred, and everybody's been able to say their piece, and they move on now, and they let their ability take over, and all of a sudden guys stop pressing. It's possible. It could happen. I mean, after all, certainly he's had to have encountered seasons like that in the past. He's been here for 150 years. Obviously, he's had a couple of teams that struggled somewhere along the way, and he got it righted.
It all starts with the blooper, man.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Every time stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, this is Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. No one besides us wants to hear that you need a new roof. It's one of the biggest home improvements you have to make, and Parker Brothers Roofing understands. We now offer financing for 0% over 60 months. Yes, that's 5 years. Call us today for 5 years interest-free financing on that new roof. 656-8112. That's 656-8112, or go to parkerbrothersroofing.net.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
TNT Hideaway has been renting canoes and kayaks on the Wakulla River for over 40 years. In addition to kayaks and canoes, they also offer stand-up paddleboards that you can rent for your paddling pleasure to view the wildlife on the river, which includes manatees, otters, turtles, and herons. TNT Hideaway also offers kayak fishing tours, paddling on the Wassissa and St. Marks rivers, as well as coastal paddles. TNT Hideaway, 6527 Coastal Highway, Crawfordville, 925-6412, or visit them online at tnthideaway.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining, bad odors, and lead with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to goodclearwater.com. That's goodclearwater.com.
It's easy to get lost in a Milky Way.
And how did that make you feel?
Well, Doc, I was very upset. It was obviously
Okay,
my
I have time to sneak in a Milky Way bar. Rich chocolate. Oh, that golden caramel. Delicious. It's...
Dr. Jones?
What? Sorry, I was eating a Milky Way.
Huh. So, my boss says...
And we're out of time. Let's pick it up next week.
Get deliciously distracted. Pick up a Milky Way at your local retailer today.
The City of Tallahassee Utilities reminds you that it'll be summertime before you know it, and summer's when we all benefit from positive environmental practices like saving energy, water, and money. Because after all, it's all connected. When your home is energy efficient, you save money on your utility bill, but you also help the environment because using less energy saves precious natural resources. Here are a few simple tips. Easy things you can do to use less energy. In the summertime, set your AC thermostat to 78 degrees and even a little higher when you're away from home. You'll be amazed at the money you'll save. Close shades, drapes, and blinds during the day. It keeps the house a lot cooler. Choose the proper AC fan setting. Put it on auto, not on. Auto saves energy. On runs continuously, and that runs into money. And while you're at it, schedule a free energy audit with the City of Tallahassee Utilities to identify low-cost and no-cost ways to make your home more energy efficient. You'll save energy, water, and money. And you'll help the environment too, because after all, it's all connected. A message from the #1 public utility in America. Learn more at talgov.com/YOU.
Might I suggest the chicken taco salad from Banditos Burritos, my friend?
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. If you were watching on YouTube there, you know why we're laughing. If not, there's your reason to go to YouTube and watch.
It's one of the top 10 Jeff Cameron expressions that I get to see every day. Now you get a window into, folks. It's the
Is it eyes wide open?
It's eyes wide open,
nodding, like,
looking down in the distance, not quite at the floor, but
right,
kind of at
yeah,
the low point of the horizon line with a
well, thinking about something in the moment
and agreeing
that was
with
said.
it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good point. Yeah. Hey, so did you see this? Obviously, well, let's go back to this. North Carolina wins the national championship. Roy Williams gets his third title. That's Carolina's sixth. One of the things I brought up, this ugly game, hideous game. Ooh. Refs didn't help. It was very, very frustrating. But I couldn't help but think as I watched North Carolina celebrate, and I'm sure a lot of people, well, if they're not, I want to remind them. But a lot of people should be reminded of the fact that the NCAA has done nothing to North Carolina, despite the fact that they ran an entire fake academic department for over 20 years. They established that department basically solely for the benefit of their athletes, especially in basketball, and yet they've yet to be punished by the NCAA. There are all kinds of delays, they say, where they exchange filings and notices. And because of it, the NCAA hasn't done anything. But I find it odd that they would be that delayed while dealing with North Carolina with an egregious transgression. And, boy, they are snapped to it, boy, with FSU's raising of the hand. Hey, we had a rogue tutor in a music class. Sorry about that. Not an entire fake class, mind you. And they hammered Florida State, asterisks next to things, taking national championship away from the track team, taking Bobby Bowden's wins. Oh, but Carolina, by all means, just keep on keeping on, guys.
It's like the normal guy contacts the IRS and he says, listen, man, underreported a little bit here, so I just want to, whatever the difference is. Yeah. So you sent me too much of my return. And then Bernie Madoff is still, walking the streets or something like that. And the IRS says, oh, sir, I'm sorry, that's a felony.
How quickly did they respond when it was Syracuse and Louisville with problems?
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
Shabbat. Weren't having it.
That's the express office of the NCAA.
Yeah.
The Shabbat office.
Yeah, let's make these bastards pay. Get on it, Teddy. Tomorrow. North Carolina. Oh, sure, guys, we know it can be difficult finding all that paperwork when you've been cheating for 2 decades.
Swaffy's coming down here. Hey, guys, it's a little bit more complicated than you think. Oh, sir, we actually have documented evidence right here. Oh, no, there's some ins and some outs. Perhaps some what-have-yous.
These ill-gotten banners, Tom. They rub me the wrong way. They need to do something to North Carolina in a hurry. But I don't know. At this point, I've lost faith that that's ever going to happen. As for the game, both teams shot miserably, and it was clunky because the officials called 457 fouls, or what felt like 457 fouls.
I feel like it was a real shame, too, because it's not just because Florida State was good this year. College basketball as a product was way better. The tournament was fine. A lot of times when you have
officiating got brought up in this tournament quite a
it
bit.
did, but
yeah,
I'm talking about quality of play. You could turn on a number of games in week one. I know everybody loves the Cinderella thing, and then they turn off the tournament and they don't watch the rest of it. But honestly, I thought the weekend of the Sweet 16 was outstanding. You had 4 or 5 really compelling games in the first weekend, which everybody wants, like 12 of them with a bunch of double-digit seeds upsetting, and that didn't happen. But I just thought on a weeknight basis, a Monday or a Tuesday in January or February, there was good, compelling college basketball on.
Yeah,
the
I thought it was
ACC
good season 2
or
for the most
out
part.
west.
It might have been because we won 26 games that we were in a pretty good mood while watching those basketball games, but yeah.
That could be true, but, it wasn't that long ago that it wasn't just us because Florida State was bad, talking about how the product is just awful
no.
and what's wrong with the sport.
Well, and that's why they sought to fix it.
Yes.
But you have nights like last night's game where the officials seem to be on display. When you have just two more field goals made than fouls called, you got a problem. That's a lot.
I didn't know that number.
That's
I knew
true.
about the 58 seconds thing, but
yeah, there was a foul called every 58 seconds in this game. There were 4 fouls called in the first 78 seconds of the second half. You couldn't watch. There was no flow. There was nothing to it. It was not a beautiful game. It's not one that will go down for the ages. It's not one that we're going to remember all that well. There have been championship games where that happens, and you don't usually launch into a tirade about college basketball, but when officials do what they did last night and they take away the beauty of a game, these two teams got athletes. They wanted to run, and the officials wouldn't let them run, and it was very frustrating. And I don't know if all those bricks were piling up because of the lack of a rhythm or flow to the game, as they say. Maybe. Certainly couldn't have helped it. But it didn't help that the team shot poorly and there were so many fouls called. It just made for a disjointed game.
No, and then, they were missing free throws too. I think that the disjointed nature of the game had a lot to do with it, and that second half had everything. It had the fouls and the stoppages. It had the reviews. Remember the flagrant review?
Oh.
On the clean Barry steal. Mind you, that starts the whole play. He steals that ball cleanly, then takes one in the jaw, but then you have to trade free throws, and then the review that never was, which is you have a player with his hand on the baseline as he's fighting for the ball.
Yeah, with 50-something seconds to go
in
in
a
the game.
big situation. That's kind of the thing that you draw up these last 2-minute scenarios for in theory, is so that you can award the ball to the right team down the stretch. It was just, how long did that half take? That had to have at least taken an hour or 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes?
Today's the day that I knew it would come up, and it did. You recall UConn's ugly win over Butler in the 2011 finals? Maybe you don't. Let me remind you, it was one of the worst games ever played, and it was a final, 53-41.
I'm sure if I tuned into
you blocked it out of your.
No, I'm sure if I tuned into it, then I tuned into something else quickly.
It was virtually unwatchable. 53-41. You think about that. A team in the national championship game nearly didn't reach the 40s. What are we doing? Naismith would have been sitting over there, fellas.
If you're going to at least take that many shots, you got to make some.
This is peach basket days, guys. What are we doing around here? Yeah, it was awful. So, the review you're talking about, it happened with it was never reviewed, sorry. Happened with 53 seconds left. The officials said somebody representing the officials said afterwards, that's not a reviewable play. If that's not reviewable, then get rid of replay.
No, that's the whole thing is that the last 2 minutes you're allowed to review possession.
Yeah.
So that should extend to all plays involving possession. We talked about it last week that referees willfully bended the rules, they just broke them.
They just broke them.
Straight up broke the rules.
To do what was right.
Exactly.
To right or wrong.
To right or wrong.
Right.
Well, if there was ever a situation that might call for, that's as clear as can be.
It's kind of important,
and it's not nebulous. There are times when you could say, well, that camera angle is a little bit prejudicial to the actual outcome. No, there is hand on baseline, clear as day. He has the ball. They award possession. Boy, oh boy, that's rough if you're a Gonzaga fan.
Today. Well, yes, and if you're a Gonzaga fan, when you lose a heartbreaking game and you get to a national championship and you don't win it, then all of those calls or non-calls obviously are highlighted in your brain. You keep thinking about them, rerunning them in your mind. There were 3 fouls on Zach Collins alone that we're still wondering where the hell they came from.
And then the one they didn't call was one close to the rim where he hacked a guy in the forearm, and that would have been his 5th, and they swallowed the whistle in that moment.
Listen, if you're gonna take a guy out of the game who was really playing well inside against Carolina's bigs, whenever he got the ball inside, when you remove him, that changes the outcome of the game. And when you whistled 3 bogus calls. I'll give you a call here or there, but there's some, what the hell happened there? I don't know what you can do with college basketball officiating to get more consistency. When they change the rules, some of these games, they let these guys play, and it's free-flowing, and calls that should be made are not. And all in all, the idea that particular night is these guys are going to let them play. They're going to let them bang. They're going to let them get after it. It's going to have to be pretty damn obvious. It's going to have to affect a shot, not bumping bodies. We're not calling body fouls here. You hit the elbow, I'll whistle. Other than that, we're balling. Well, okay, fine, and I think people can live with that. That's fine. But you see that crew do a game like that, and then you turn around and watch last night's game, and it's ticky-tacky. Everything is called. Any impediment to movement in any way is called. And the next thing you know, we have what's commonly referred to as a whistle fest, and the officials become a story when, in fact, you're playing the national championship. These two programs have elite athletes who want to get out and run. You don't let them run. And today, we're talking a little bit less about North Carolina, Roy's third title, Carolina's title, and more about the officials ruining the national championship game.
No, the moment of the night is when they're explaining to the television staff the flagrant call and the other free throws, how they're going to trade, and then they're going to award possession from there. Because it goes 45 seconds to a minute, and he's talking to Nance and Raftery and Hill, and it's inaudible, and it's a waste of everybody's time. And we're a few seconds away from a media timeout, and I'm just thinking to myself, burn the under 16 or whatever it was, and it might have been the under 8, but burn it. What are we doing here? Why are we waiting for this? This is ridiculous because then you have to sit through another 2 minutes of commercials.
Well, why do you review? There's the play, I think it was at 6:30, 6:20.
Yeah,
why
that
are
was
you reviewing the play?
The shot clock.
Yeah, so why are you reviewing a play where it's obvious that it wasn't even close?
No, even Nance was mad about that.
Well, it's just dumb.
It was rather obvious that the ball was out of his hand.
Well, it's almost at the rim.
Yeah, you're right. That's about 6.5 to go. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
6.5 minutes to go in the game.
No, man.
And you got the call right.
Yeah, no. No flow to last night's national championship game. That's a shame. It's Masters Week. You want to feel better about something?
Yes.
It's Masters Week, my man. Woo! Tomorrow night on Beyond the Tips, Sirius XM 92-208.
Hey, I have a Sirius XM now.
You can now listen to myself and the great Trey Jones, head golf coach at Florida State. Tomorrow night, we're having Jack Nicklaus' son.
Of course, I'd listen to this program and this station first and foremost, but in my brand new fully loaded Nissan,
you can.
I can listen to you guys.
That's
now.
right. Tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, and we're going to have Jack's son on, and Jack Jr. is going to come on, and he's going to talk about being on the bag in 86.
Is his middle name Kraft, like Kraft Nissan?
Oh, nicely done, sir. But I want to talk to him about it. He was on the bag for a lot of events. I know it's Masters Week, and, of course, we'll have to ask the obligatory 86 Masters question. But I think we're going to have him on like 25 minutes, buddy. Good stuff. More of the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio in a moment.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
Locally owned and operated and serving Tallahassee for nearly 40 years.
So, the Violent Femmes are a very underrated 80s band.
I don't disagree. In fact, they're one of the first bands I ever saw in concert. I got a question for you since you're bringing up music. Yay or nay on Skid Row? Sebastian Bach.
Oh, that's Skid Row.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Don't settle for a sissy sandwich. Beef O'Brady's new $5 Epic Grillers stuff epic meaty goodness between thick slices of brioche bread, double grilled, inside and out. Beef's $5 Epic Grillers. 0% sissy, 100% epic.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac is back at it, supporting the High School Scholar Athlete of the Month on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Listen every Wednesday to hear our monthly winners. Check them out at Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMCCadillac.com.
Hey, Wally Woodham here. In 1974, I set the national high school passing record at Leon High with 3,560 yards.
Jimmy Jordan here. Wally, I broke your passing record at Leon the very next year.
Well, Jimmy, in our 3 years together at FSU, I threw for 22 touchdown passes.
Wally, that's pretty good, but I had 39.
Well, Jimmy, look at the deal I got at AAA Transmission.
That's a pretty good deal, Wally. At least your car's a winner.
Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop in at AAA Transmission and ask for owner Tim Pridgeon, servicing Tallahassee for over 30 years. AAA Transmission, 1023 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-2532. Milwaukee specials are heating up at Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. M18 Fuel 2-tool combo kit, $100 trade-in plus free brushless Sawzall. Hurry up while supplies last. This great deal ends soon. $100 off most Milwaukee M18 Fuel kits. M18 Fuel, upgrade, outwork, outlast. Cornerstone Tool and Fastener, the largest Milwaukee selection in the area. Big store pricing with local service. 2 locations to choose from: 1110 Stuckey Avenue and 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Tallahassee location open on Saturdays at 8 a.m. until noon. Call them at 580-1200 or online at ctf.nu.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on
ctf.nu.
Dish TV is better than cable. Scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-344-2066. 800-344-2066. 800-344-2066. That's 800-344-2066.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan. As most of you know, it's that time of year again. Tax refund time. What does that mean for all of us? It means that every single car dealer in town will be trying to shout the loudest for you to bring in your tax refund. Bring in your W-2s, and they will put you in a car. A used car that is nothing like what you really want. Well, guess what? Kraft Nissan's New For You program is an absolute game changer. We don't need your tax return. We don't need to see your W-2. And absolutely the best of all, we will not sell you an overpriced used car. And that is exactly why at Kraft Nissan, we call it the New For You program. We will plug your information into our system, which approves 4 out of 5 people with damage credit, and at the end of the day, you will drive away in a brand new Nissan, with or without a tax refund. You know the deal. Recently divorced? No problem. Recent bankruptcy? No problem. Credit score under 600? No problem. And it's not tied to taxes. Come see how easy it is for you to drive away in a new Kraft Nissan. And remember, if you don't see the Kraft tag in your car, you paid too much. Way too much. Kraft Nissan on Mayhem Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Tallahassee Sports Center.
Conley Gordon, the national championship is back in the ACC. North Carolina 71-65 winners over Gonzaga last night. Roy Williams cuts the nets for the 3rd time in his storied career with the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, if you're already looking ahead to next year, well, sportsbooks in Vegas already have the top 3, Kentucky, Duke, and Louisville as your early favorites at 10-1. The Florida Gators coming in at a 20-1 odds next year. Well, the Florida State baseball team back in action today. They've got a 2-game set. They'll take on Florida Gulf Coast today and tomorrow before they head on the road to North Carolina State. Some breaking news in the National Football League, and, well, it's the story we all expected to come. Tony Romo has been released by the Dallas Cowboys. He will not play again. He has decided to turn in his football cleats for the TV booth.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Lawn Maintenance Tuesday, presented by Miller's Tree Service. Call Miller's today at 894-TREE. That's 894-8733.
You must learn.
By the way, Detroit beat Chicago today. Justin Verlander with the win. Jose Quintana got lit up. Guess what? In mere moments, Tom, you'll need that music, buddy.
Oh, buddy.
Lest
All right.
we forget.
You want to hear about student loans while you're at it?
For the first time this year, woo! We welcome him back with open arms.
It's on this page. I haven't seen this page in some time.
What else is on that page?
The "And It's Gone" clip.
Which play for fun. Because it's always great.
Don't worry. We can just transfer money from your account into a portfolio with your son, and it's gone.
That's beautiful.
The Bartolo Colon home run call.
We don't need to hear that.
Okay.
Hey, the Rays are back at it. Cue it up, buddy. Let's play it. Let's do this thing. Let's make it happen.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Oh, that's what you went with. Yeah. We've got a few options, but you got to wait till it's dead of summer before you can.
I think the rule is we have to get to May before you can break out the Sinatra. That's what we said last year.
Okay. Well, we have nothing if not standards around here, so it's a good call.
Then we introduced "It's All Right," which was the show closed for a little brief time at the old place.
It was. We could do. Maybe we'll introduce a fourth song this year.
Sure, and then we have September for one of the months of the season.
One of the months
I don't know
of the
which
season.
one.
Yeah. That's usually right there in. Will we do that in early May?
Yeah.
It's a fun time to play September. Yanks, Rays. Fatty, fat, CC Sabathia.
Still pitching.
Kind of retooled. Figured it out a little bit. Says now, despite being 6'9", 780 pounds, I'm going to be crafty. I can't throw hard anymore. Maybe he should go back to drinking. He threw hard when he was drinking. Jake Odorizzi will go for the Rays.
It's therapeutic.
Rockies, Brewers, Tyler Anderson. Mr. Anderson is pitching for the Rockies. Seemed like he was a lot. Some of these names you go, oh, welcome back into my life. Zach Davies goes for the Brewers. Just an aside, I thought it should be noted that if you're a San Diego Padres fan, bless your heart. Not just because of yesterday, but because yesterday is going to be every day if you're a Padres fan. Go do yourself a favor, take a look at that starting lineup they're running out there. My God. Indians, Rangers, Carlos Carrasco, Martin Perez going for the Rangers. We got the Mariners and the Astros. Iwa Lance McCullers Jr. will go for the Astros. Crank it. Just so terrible. So terrible, it's good. Cubs, Cards. Steroid boy Jake Arrieta goes for the Cubs. Adam Wainwright, 57 years old, goes for the Cardinals. Giants, D-backs. It's not Robbie Ray. What? Johnny Cueto goes for the Giants. Patrick Corbin goes for the D-backs, or still unfortunately called the D-backs. Angels, A's, Matt Shoemaker and Sean Manaea. And then we close it out with the woefully bad San Diego Padres rolling out Clayton Richard as their two-starter against Kenta Maeda for the Dodgers. I'm going to take the Dodgers. I don't know about you, but I'm going to take the Dodgers. And that's a look at those that shall reside on the bump. That was fun. Got to get back.
You got it right there at the end of the Summer Breeze song. That's not bad.
Timing's pretty good. Not bad for the first time back. Yeah, looks good. I'm amazed at Matt Shoemaker's terrorist beard. That thing it's almost purple. It is so impressive. Go look at that thing. It was that way last year. I forgot about it because I don't ever look him up because he plays for the Angels and who the hell cares. But then we do probables and you go, oh, that's him. That's right. He still got it. Nobody's told him. My man, come on now.
How about that rookie for the Red Sox yesterday? Doing everything he wanted to do.
We don't need to, it was the Pirates. It's okay. We don't need to hear that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You guys came back. You fought hard.
We had the tying runs on base. The go-ahead run at the plate. Yeah, 5-3. I'm a little frustrated. You know who didn't do a damn thing but suck yesterday? Andrew McCutchen.
Boy, the narrative has flipped. You are absolutely done with Andrew McCutchen.
My man was 0 for 4 with 3 Ks and came up with runners in scoring position twice and made an error in right field that they didn't call an error, which led to a triple.
You know, the move to right field might have been prudent after they play in Boston. You know, because actually, you want to play in left field if you're Andrew McCutchen, if you're going to have a range issue.
Right. Yeah, if you got range issues. Well, he just couldn't pick up the ball, and it bounced off his foot like a clown. I've never seen – hey, listen, here's what's weird.
One game?
No, I know. No. Listen, now he had historic lows and everything last year. He was awful. I'm serious. This is a baseball point, not I'm a Pirates fan angry point. How does a guy who just turned 30 – his bat speed was the problem last year. You do not see in today's game, right? I mean, when you're 28, 29, 30 years old, you're kind of in your prime. You're on the back end of your prime if you're not using steroids. But he's in great condition. He always prided himself on preparation, working hard. So that's why Pirates fans love him. And then plus he was an MVP and he produces and all that other stuff. How does that happen? I mean, his bat speed is gone. It's just gone. He can't catch up to anything. Baseball's cruel and unusual, and you see players go from being great to good to bad. But Andrew McCutchen has gone from being great to terrible. There's no gradual decline. What's going on? It's crazy. I don't get it.
He did play for the WBC champion United States of America, sir.
I was proud of him. Came up with some timely hits.
He did. They were all singles, but they were timely.
Well, he also had a double. There was a double in there. Believe me, I noted the double.
You see the therapy that I'm engaging in right now? See, there you go.
Come on now. You can't be besmirching Andrew
there
McCutchen.
You go.
I can. You can't be besmirching. Like, you can talk about, I don't know, let's say.
Oh, you're welcome to talk about Harvey. Go ahead.
Yeah. By the way.
The Thor with the slider thing. Oh, my God.
Well, and I don't understand
Listen,
that.
dude. And he got the results.
You throw 100. Stop throwing 3-2 sliders.
Yeah, the results were fine yesterday in those scenarios. But the process, pal, I've seen it. Same old song and dance. He loves the hell out of that thing. But it's still 92 to 95 miles an hour.
Well, it's evil,
and if you're but if you're throwing 100 and you hang a 92 to 95, that looks like 88.
Well, he hung 2 yesterday. He should have paid for dearly, but he, that's not a very good hit.
That's what,
you only get hitting Braves team.
No. 1 or 2 chances, and then he'll strike you out, and there it is. Shut you out for 6 innings.
Read this from Baseball Prospectus to make you smile before we sign off. No fan who followed the Mets in 2016 should need any reminder of the pattern, which typically goes something like this. Immensely talented pitcher endures a handful of shaky bat or short starts. Pitcher and team diminished possibility of an injury. Pitcher gets an MRI, which finds no structural damage, and pitcher is declared day-to-day. Pitcher hits the disabled list. Pitcher undergoes season-ending surgery.
Wait a minute. Did that happen to Lugo? Because he's going for a second opinion.
Yeah, he's saying that the Mets have been doing this forever. This is the pattern for
That's
them.
why they need 4 of the 7. That's what I said last week. If 4 of the 7 that they have stay healthy, they've got a real shot.
But if you get a short start from like Syndergaard and they say, short start, no, he's not hurt. Everything's fine. Just like immediately start to curl up in the fetal position because it's coming.
It was a blood blister. This has been confirmed.
Good work out of you, sir. Good work out of you, Matthew. Thanks for listening, everybody, and or watching on YouTube. Be well. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Super.